All right, welcome to the show, y'all. Hope you guys are having a great day. Man, I don't even know what the hell is going on anymore at this point. I really don't even understand what the hell to say at this point. So, we're going to break it down for you, but the so-called deal between Iran and the U.S. has already fallen apart. People are still pretending like that's not the case, but it is the case. So I'm going to break all of that down for you. We also have, now there's talk, as I warned you, of Israel potentially blackmailing Trump in order to destroy this deal, which is already on baby deer legs. So we'll dive into all that. We have the White House is in chaos as regime insiders are turning on each other. You have people openly disagreeing with Trump, as you know he hates. You have top officials with their jobs openly being threatened with leaks to the media if they don't fall in line and kiss Trump's ass. So there's so much going on. Later on, Zionist Warpigs are in the midst of a shit-flinging tantrum over the Iran deal. We have the FBI is claiming there was another Trump assassination attempt by drones at the UFC fight. Very, very sketchy stuff there as well. And also, The View hosts humiliate J.D. Vance over and over and over directly to his face. So you don't want to miss any of this stuff, man. Do me a big favor. As you all know, subscribe to the channel. Click that bell icon. That helps out big time and costs you nothing at all. You can also support the show on Patreon. Remember, there's real independent media. Never talked to an advertiser. Never done an ad read. I'm very proud of that fact. You guys make that possible by giving $2 a month or $5 a month, whatever it may be, by tipping with that thanks button on YouTube. So much love to all of you who've kept this show going over the years. I promise you, I will never talk to an advertiser or do an ad read, all because of you. You can also sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack and go sub to Corin's World, where we do live Kyle and Corin episodes every Monday night. Come hang out with us over there. It's a lot of fun, and it's much more laid back than whatever the fuck we're doing here, okay? So let's start with this. Let me break down for you exactly what's in this memorandum of understanding between Iran and the U.S. Now, by the way, a memorandum of understanding is just a fancy way of saying we're going to have a deal to make a deal in the future, to make a more specific, detailed, permanent deal in the future. So I believe this gives us 60 days to halt hostilities, to then iron out specifics. That's the notion that we're talking about here, okay? But according to Clash Report here, what's in this memorandum of understanding that the U.S. and Iran agreed to? Well, number one, immediate permanent end to fighting on all fronts, including Lebanon. Now, keep that in mind, because that's going to be a sticking point that's going to be important in just a second here. U.S. immediately lifting the naval blockade on Iran and no further interference. The U.S. withdrawing all forces from the region within a month of the final deal. Iran lifting the Hormuz blockage within a month. U.S. and regional partners commit to an Iran reconstruction plan funded with at least $300 billion, okay? Now, Iran lifting the Hormuz blockade within a month is going to be difficult because there's mines in the strait, right? So this is going to require a lot of work to free it up to get traffic back to what it was before. So it's not as simple as they could just snap their fingers and open it up. It's actually a lot more complicated than that. And the $300 billion that they're getting, now that is being framed as basically it could be viewed as reparations, right? Like, we bombed your hospitals and your schools and your steel plants and all these different civilian infrastructure things. So here's reparations for that. But the U.S. is trying to spin that by saying, no, it's not reparations. It's like an investment fund or something like that. And of course, even if that is true, of course, you're going to see Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff and all these Trump insiders get a massive piece of the pie. So it would be a colossally corrupt scheme, as with everything they do. Okay, they continue here. If the final deal is implemented, the U.S. removes all current sanctions, including UN IAEA resolutions. Iran commits to never build nuclear weapons. Enriched uranium issue to be resolved in the final deal. Until then, U.S. allows status quo on Iran's nuclear program. U.S. approves Iranian crude oil exports, including banking, insurance, shipping, and unfreezes all frozen Iranian funds. So, when you look at this, what you should be thinking of is, this is like the Obama nuclear deal, except substantially worse. Much better terms for Iran. And there's also some sticking points where, them getting that $300 billion is a huge deal. And this is something theoretically Trump attacked Obama for, when all Obama did was return Iranian money that we had stolen from them, right? This goes above and beyond it. This is like actual reparations, or money on top of just giving them back their own funds. So not only do you have that, another sticking point is going to be control of the Strait of Hormuz, because Iran is saying, no, us and Oman will control the strait, and yes, we're going to do a tax or a fee for ships to go through there, and the U.S. is still out there insisting, no, that's not the case. We're going to have it free and open. So right off the jump, there's irreconcilable differences that I still don't see a way to bridge the gap here. So it's very strange everybody's acting like this deal is set in stone and is done and like we're good when we're not even remotely close to out of the woods for a number of reasons, because also Lebanon is a massive sticking point. Okay, we'll get to more on this in a second, but Israel is basically throwing a wrench in the works here. Okay, I came out and said there is literally a 0% chance the U.S. and Israel abide by the deal with Iran, and it's very strange like everybody's pretending the opposite right now. So I said that yesterday. Today, Israel launches fresh strikes on Lebanon despite Trump criticism. Oh, would you look at that? Imagine my shock that Israel is violating a so-called peace agreement or a memorandum of understanding. It's not like quite literally every single ceasefire they've done in modern history is a fake ceasefire, and they continue to go right back to barbarism and savagery and attacking civilians. Okay, now here's Trump. CNN put together a montage of the stuff he used to say when talking about Obama's Iran agreement, the JCPOA. And of course, to say this is hypocritical is a colossal understatement. Watch this.
I would have never given him back the money.
Oh, is that right?
I would have said, the money is off the table. Let's start negotiating.
Oh, I see.
And you know what? I would have won that negotiation.
We can't continue to make deals like that horrible Iran deal where we give them $150 billion back.
Yeah, we should give them $300 billion, not $150 billion. What are you guys talking about?
Iran deal was so bad. We paid $150 billion to sign a horrible agreement.
Now, by the way, that wasn't even the actual number that Obama gave, because like with Trump, literally every single thing is a lie. But like I said, this is the JCPOA, except significantly, objectively worse. We were in a much better position having never done this illegal war of aggression than we are now that we did. Basically, it is kind of like the terms the U.S. would have to agree to are surrender terms, but they're desperately trying to like clean up the PR and act like that's not the case when it is the case. Now, let me be clear. We should motherfucking surrender. Absolutely. You don't get to do illegal wars of aggression and bomb little girls at school and then like demand terms that we want. No, like we should have never done this war in the first place. I actually support giving them reparations for what we did to those poor people, right? But they're effectively trying to agree to the surrender terms while saying they're not surrender terms, and also having the psychopathic Israelis blow up anything that would be remotely, conceding to Iran that indeed they were right. And the main thing is, since they control the Strait of Hormuz, that's their veto card. That's their trump card, pun intended, because there's nothing you could do if they basically have the global economy in a chokehold. There's nothing you could do. Like you have to deal with them. It's almost like even more important than having a nuclear weapon is having the ability to control the Strait of Hormuz. And so hold this big fat juicy L, because there's no way out of it at this point. All right, let me continue here. So Trump giving $300 billion to Iran. This could pay for student debt elimination for 7.6 million Americans, an end to homelessness in America, healthcare subsidies for 22 million Americans for nearly a decade, Medicaid coverage for 3.2 million Americans for a decade, food assistance for 41 million Americans for 3 years, federal cancer research for 40 plus years, free school lunch for every kid in America for over 4 years, replacing every lead pipe in America, free pre-K for every child in America for over 7 years. With Trump's big bullshit bill, they kicked 18 million people off of Medicaid. 18 million people off Medicaid. Like they're saying here, this would be healthcare subsidies for 22 million Americans for nearly a decade. So he's stealing healthcare from you and giving the money to Iran, effectively. Oh, my days. Remind me again, what's America first supposed to mean? How does that work? All right, more. New U.S. intelligence agencies have recently assessed that Iran can effectively turn the Strait of Hormuz on and off at will going forward, meaning it has acquired a powerful new ability to hurt the global economy as a result of Trump and Israel starting the war. Quote, we have now handed Iran de facto control over the strait, a weapon more powerful than any nuke, just like I was telling you. That is incredible, y'all. That is incredible. Perhaps the biggest failure I've ever seen of any war ever. And never should have been done. Never should have been done. Not even close. Then we also have this. So Trump is at the G7, and to everybody's surprise, he's actually starting to say things that sound slightly critical of Israel, because Netanyahu came out and said, we disagree with this memorandum of understanding. And as you all know, Trump doesn't tolerate dissent. He doesn't tolerate disagreement. So at the G7, he says the following. Here we go.
What are the expectations for Israel? Can this deal survive if Israel attacks Lebanon?
It can, and I consider that the minor war. Iran's the big one, but we have that little pinprick out there that constantly rears its head, and that's Hezbollah. And, I was very responsible for Syria, and the man that's running Syria now is a person that I put there along with President Erdogan and some others.
just says the quiet part loud all the time. Like, since we're imperialists and we're colonialists and we run the world like a mafia, I actually handpicked the leader of Syria. That's me. Yeah, he was in Al-Qaeda. Let bygones be bygones. Like, that's so incredible. He just says this shit out loud.
He's done an amazing job of pulling it together. He's not a Boy Scout, but he's done an amazing job of pulling it together. And he is very good with Hezbollah, does not like them. And I'll tell you.
What a shock. The Al-Qaeda guy doesn't like Hezbollah. The Sunni fundamentalist jihadi terrorist doesn't like the Shias, who are standing up against the Israeli aggressors. What a surprise.
What? Israel's fighting Hezbollah too long, and too many people are being killed. And you don't have to knock down an apartment house every time you're looking for somebody, because there are a lot of people in those apartment houses, and they're not all Hezbollah, that I can tell you. And I suggested to Israel to let Syria take care of Hezbollah. Because to be honest with you, I think they do a better job of doing it.
Israel, you're committing too many war crimes. Let the Al-Qaeda guy commit some war crimes.
And I didn't like Syria. I didn't like where 2 hours before we're signing the agreement, that there was an attack in Lebanon, in Beirut. It was right in, it wasn't like in the southern side, and it was in Beirut. I did not like that. I let them know that. I didn't like it, not at all. But I think that Syria, he's pulled that country together amazingly quickly. He's very capable, and he's been very good for me. He's protected everything that I've asked for. He's done. And if Israel can't do the job without killing everyone else, he'll do the job. Syria will do the job.
Now, I don't know if he's just naive here, but the whole plan was to ethnically cleanse Lebanon, steal Lebanon, just like they destroyed all of Gaza and are stealing Gaza. Like, the plan is expansionist. It's a settler colonial project. It is an apartheid state. It is an ethno state. It is expansionist by its nature, okay? They want that greater Israel. And here's Trump like, I don't get it. They're bombing all these apartment buildings and killing people who aren't in Hezbollah. Yeah, no shit. That's kind of what they do. But I love how he goes, they don't have to bomb an apartment building every time. Why do they bomb an apartment building? As Dave DeCamp says of antiwar.com. The White House group chat when the U.S. knocked down an apartment building in Yemen. J.D. Vance says, what? Mike Waltz says, typing too fast. The first target, their top missile guy, we had positive ID of him walking into his girlfriend's building, and it's now collapsed. J.D. Vance says, excellent. And Mike Waltz sends a bunch of positive emojis, the fucking fist bump, the American flag, and the fire emoji. So when Israel bombs the apartment buildings, why are you bombing the apartment building? When they bomb the apartment buildings, oh yeah, excellent. We love that, bro. All right, not done yet, though, because he continues here, and Trump says, without the United States, there would be no Israel, which, fact check, kind of true.
Without the United States, there would be no Israel. Without me, there would be no Israel, because no other president was willing to do what I did.
Damn, okay. Still more, Trump, the current Iranian leadership are very rational people, he says.
We're dealing with people that I think are very rational people. I mean, they were nice to deal with. They were strong people, smart people. I think actually they're smarter than the first and second group. But they're not radicalized, and they're, looking to help their country.
So remember, the Iranians hired master psychologists, senior psychologists, in order to deal with Trump. And the psychologist said, here's how you handle him, here's what you do, here's how you get what you want. I think that shit is kind of working. Okay, here we go. So in response to all of that, mass flip out in Israel. The Zionist neocons are losing their goddamn minds. Now, what they don't understand or what they don't realize is the deal is already barbecue chicken. Israel already ruined the deal, right? The U.S. is going to insist that certain terms that they did agree to that actually, no, we didn't agree to those things. I would bet anything that there's no way this actually sticks. But nonetheless, even just the potential discussion of maybe reducing hostilities, maybe getting a ceasefire, maybe having some sort of an agreement, even just the talk of that makes the Zionist Warpigs lose their mind, okay? So first, as I told you, Trump is caught between a rock and a hard place here because if he were to actually stop the war, which he should, and he should fucking surrender, well, as you all know, Jeffrey Epstein worked for Mossad. He was in with a bunch of intelligence agencies all around the world, and he had dirt on virtually every powerful person in his orbit. And so, as we know, there's pictures and videos of Trump with underage girls that Epstein had, which means Mossad has it, which means the Israeli government has it. You're going to start seeing, and by the way, not a coincidence, there was a story that came out immediately after we had this memorandum of understanding. A story comes out in a right-wing media outlet about Oh, it turns out Jeffrey Epstein was actually trying to get dirt on Trump and was trying to rat on Trump right before his death. Interesting. In other words, the Israelis are going to release the Kraken. If we actually follow through here and don't continue the illegal war of aggression against Iran, you're going to get all the dirt on Trump. So here is a former Israeli intelligence officer, Ari Ben Menashe, and he says Netanyahu has unreleased Epstein material on Trump and other U.S. officials. Listen to this, y'all.
If there's a real deal between the Americans and the Iranians, and it's going towards that, Netanyahu will try to sabotage it. One of the ways he'd sabotage it is by putting out Epstein material against U.S. government officials, including Trump.
Think about that. He's just saying it. They're just saying it. Oh, yeah. We can get him to do whatever the fuck we want. We could do it the easy way, right? We'll give you hundreds of millions of dollars, to run your campaign. We'll be your best friend. We'll sing your praises, all that stuff. We'll do corrupt deals with you, whatever you want. Well, we could do it that way. Or if you're not our little fucking dog, our little bitch, and you don't heal when we want you to, then we can do it the hard way too. I'll release all the dirt I got on you.
New material that wasn't seen before in public.
So it's not just Trump. I know that Howard Lutnick is mentioned. There are other officials.
Not just Trump, other officials too. Yes.
So in other words, you twist the arms of other people in the orbit, you better defy Trump. You better convince him otherwise, or you better defy him.
And he'll try to sabotage the whole negotiation and deal that would be that they're trying to make together.
Now, remember, as I tell you this, remember, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, even George W. Bush, Netanyahu tried to get them to do this illegal war of aggression against Iran too, and they told him to kick rocks. And not only did they tell him to kick rocks, they said, not only are we not going to help you attack Iran, you are also not going to attack Iran. Trump was the only one fucking dumb enough and co-opted enough and corrupted enough to do this in the first place. And now he's up Schitt's Creek without a paddle, son. That's where he is. Okay, ready for this? Clash Report says, Israeli National Security Minister Ben Gavir, we cannot stop destroying houses in southern Lebanon. We cannot stop, period. We cannot allow the population of southern Lebanon to return. We must continue to control the territory, even if Trump disagrees. We are an independent state. Now, let me just point out to say that last line is 100% not true. They get so much money and so many weapons from us that the whole project would collapse if we cut the money and if we cut the weapons. Now, let me also point out, if Trump is actually serious about this shit, if he's serious about it, which I doubt he is, but if he is serious, there's a very easy way to make the Israelis heal. Cut off the money, cut off the weapons, damn the consequences. Oh, they're going to release shit on you. They're going to release the fucking Katie Johnson stuff. There might be videos of you with underage girls. There might be all sorts of stuff. But if you're serious about actually getting peace, then you got to do what you got to do, dog. You got to do what you got to do. Cut off the money, cut off the weapons. But we'll know Trump is actually serious when he does that. But here's the Israeli National Security Minister, who's a terrorist, by the way, quite literally, spitting in Trump's eye and saying, not only are we not going to listen, we're not even going to stop. Remember, they initially told us, we got to go after Hezbollah. This is defensive to go after Hezbollah. Now they tell you the truth. Oh, we're destroying houses in southern Lebanon. What the fuck does that have to do with going after Hezbollah? You're admitting that's got nothing to do with Hezbollah. That you're going after civilians in Lebanon, that you're bulldozing their houses just like you did in Gaza. You destroyed 90% of the buildings in Gaza, and you're taking more and more and more territory. We see what this is. We know what this is. You are the new Nazis. That's what you are. More. Israel Katz just proudly declared, another top Israeli government official, defense minister, I believe, all the villages near the Lebanese border are being systematically destroyed. Oh, weird. Again, nothing about Hezbollah. You're talking about Lebanese border villages. Israel spent months saying it is a war against Hezbollah and not the Lebanese people, but Katz just admitted that Israel is targeting civilian homes. Okay. Also, the defense minister, Israel Katz, you are fulfilling the vision of the prophets, he says to IDF soldiers. One only has to open the Bible and read about what this is based on. We have already been in these places. We have already done these things. We will continue to do them. Literally saying it is religious, biblical prophecy for us to murder more Lebanese people and steal more land to create greater Israel. This is who we're dealing with. And you think they're going to abide by the terms of any motherfucking deal that's made with Iran? No shot. Literally no shot. In fact, like I showed you, they already violated it. They already violated it, okay? Israel's ruling Likud party has shelved a planned campaign highlighting the Trump-Netanyahu relationship after concluding that Trump is not currently helping Netanyahu in public opinion. In fact, Trump's support in Israel has flipped in 3 weeks from plus 23 to minus 23, a 46-point drop, according to a Kantar poll. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when you even just pay lip service to the idea of maybe stopping the illegal war. Just lip service to that idea. Just a memorandum of understanding, a deal to have a deal in the future where you hold your fucking L and you realize we lost this war and they control the global economy and can hurt us, right? Soon as you acknowledge reality, boom, the Israelis go, how dare you? We want more death. We want more destruction. We want to steal more land. We want your own soldiers to die for us. We want to waste your tax money for us. We want to leave Iran a smoldering ash heap. How dare you? This is what they do. This is what they say. This is who they are. Itamar Ben-Gvir canceled a planned family trip to the United States after encountering difficulties obtaining a U.S. visa. He had intended to attend a wedding in Miami, according to Haaretz. This is escalating quickly. I love kicking this guy out of the country, but in reality, he should be locked the fuck up at The Hague. That's where he should be. Israelis are celebrating 8 American deaths after a B-52 crash in California. That just happened the other day. Quote, they deserve it. I hate the United States no less than Iran. We just started, dear Americans. The blows have only just begun. We just started? Is this an Israeli trying to take responsibility for the B-52 crash? And having a number of B-52s crash recently? Is this sabotage? Is that what this is? Is this sabotage from our greatest ally, the only democracy in the Middle East? Is that what this is? They're literally celebrating people in this country being killed. Why? Because theoretically, we're now at least having a conversation about unwinding hostilities, and they're like, no, you will continue the war forever. The U.S. secretly approved a financial and maritime arrangement between Qatar and Iran, under which billions of dollars were paid to Tehran in exchange for free passage for Qatari tankers and ships through the Strait of Hormuz. 3 diplomatic officials now confirm. This was a deliberate and conscious course of action by the U.S. administration, which allowed its Navy to turn a blind eye to the arrangement, in complete contradiction of its declared policy. The move was intended to ease the crisis in global energy markets and curb rising oil prices. So, listen to this, man. This is the U.S. Bloody hell. The U.S. colluded with Qatar and Iran to undermine its own blockade. This is nuts. That's how incomprehensible, incoherent, and insane Trump's policies are, right? How incompetent he is. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He's unserious, and he's flouting his own blockade. I mean, I've never seen anything like that in my life. Murtaza Hussein says, immediately after the fall of the Assad government, Israel began a project of turning southern Lebanon into a new version of the West Bank, with house confiscations and demolitions, and a new network of military bases. The government yesterday indicated that their presence in Syria would be permanent. Yet again, I told you that the Greater Israel Project is real, and they're currently doing it, and they also started stealing massive swaths of Syria as soon as Assad fell. Now you got the Al-Qaeda guy running it, and the Al-Qaeda guy is effectively letting Israel take massive swaths of Syria. Okay. Israel is dropping toxic chemicals on farmland in South Lebanon. We're talking about catastrophic levels of glyphosate, a chemical linked to cancer, 11,000 times above safe levels. This is a deliberate war crime aimed at making life impossible and forcing people out of their land. Oh my days. Oh my days. This is what they're doing to the people of Lebanon. Eden Germentum says, the Trump administration sends a great message of strength to the world. If you negotiate with us for 40 years, we'll just bomb you anyway. But if you fight back for a month, we'll give you everything you want. That is so true. You've now told the world the way to get stuff out of us is to punch us right in the fucking face. Punch the bully in the face, and then you'll get whatever the fuck you want. Like, if you are a good person and you believe in diplomacy and negotiation and the goodwill of people, then you're a sucker and you get taken advantage of. But if you use brute force and punch us in the face, then you'll get whatever the fuck you want. That's exactly right. They're literally dumping hydrogen peroxide into the reflexing pool this morning because it turned green. The algae came back instantly. They spent $14 million to fix this pool to get rid of the algae and clean it up. The algae came back within a motherfucking week. Okay, so this was an obvious money laundering operation. It should have cost next to nothing. It cost $14 million. Trump definitely is getting a piece of that. But now they're desperate. They're dumping hydrogen peroxide in, trying to save it. There's no way this is going to work in the long run. So as Reset by Peter says, to recap, Trump declared war on the algae in the reflecting pool, spent a lot of money trying to fight it, lost, made things worse, now has to spend even more money to get it back to the state it was in before he got involved. Just like the Iran war. That is exactly correct. That's exactly correct. The issue is not that Trump is, in a preliminary sense, agreeing to surrender here, which is what this is. The issue is they're liars, and they're not going to follow through, and they already haven't followed through, and the Israelis are going to fuck it up, and Trump is going to back out, and we're going to be right back to square one, and the Strait of Hormuz is going to be shut, and the global economy is going to be barbecue chicken. That's the issue, okay? So I implore all of you, don't do this dumb thing I see a lot of people doing, where they're basically like against the surrender. Like, no, we need to surrender. We never should have done this war in the first place. It was illegal. It was offensive. Iran deserves all the terms that they're getting, right? The issue is we're not actually going to abide by those terms. We're not going to follow through with those terms because you cannot make a deal with Donald Trump because he rips up every fucking agreement he has. He's a liar. He's a con man. He's a scam artist. He's a cheat. He's an asshole. He's a dipshit. He's incompetent. But do not do this thing that I see a lot of people doing where now all of a sudden they're like making right-wing arguments and acting like you shouldn't actually agree to these terms. No, you should agree to these terms. You absolutely should agree to these terms, and you should follow the fuck through. But we'll see what happens because, like I said, this thing is already on baby deer legs. It's already been violated, but the question is, how's Iran going to respond to the violation? Is Iran going to say, okay, the whole thing's off? Or are they going to say, well, whatever, it was like one attack from Israel in Lebanon because they're trying to undermine the deal, but we'll still try to make the deal? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen from here. But either way, it is getting fucking spicy out there. It is getting juicy out there. And I highly, highly doubt that the Israelis are going to let this continue in any way, shape, or form. They're probably going to try to shut this whole bitch down however they can, whether it's releasing Epstein blackmail on Trump to try to get him to fall in line, or whether it's, Hassan floated a theory that as soon as there's an international effort to try to clear the mines from the Strait of Hormuz under this deal, that Israel will attack at that moment to try to restart hostilities, but also force Europe into the war. Like, they're not just going to take this laying down. And it'd be good if we didn't have a senile president with Alzheimer's in this moment who's going to get fucking railroaded by the Israelis and is going to get cooked across the board.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So the White House is in complete and utter disarray at the moment because you have people under Trump disagreeing with Trump, sometimes directly and overtly. They do not like this memorandum of understanding that is happening between the U.S. and Iran and Israel. And not only that, but now there's word that Trump might fire some of these people if they don't shut the fuck up and get on board. So first of all, let me just show you. Here's our fucking top ally. All right, I already showed you this before, but the only democracy in the Middle East, as they say, who's, our partner forever. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz to a bunch of IDF soldiers. He said, "You are fulfilling the vision of the prophets. One only has to open the Bible and read about what this is based on. We have already been in these places. We have already done these things. We will continue to do them." In other words, listen, you're fulfilling your religious duty by marauding and crusading and pillaging your way through Lebanon and bulldozing houses and stealing territory and killing innocent people. You are fulfilling the vision of the prophets. This is our top ally. People who already came out and said, we're not abiding by this deal you just made, even though we have to because, one of the terms is no more attacking inside Lebanon. We're not going to abide by that. They're openly saying we're not going to abide by that. Okay? Here's our top ally. So, you would think in a situation like this, right, you would have our administration would say, oh, well, obviously that's fucked up, and we need to try to get them in line. We need to try to exert pressure on them, use leverage on them to say, you have no choice, bitch. Like, for example, cut off the money, cut off the weapons, threaten to cut off the money, threaten to cut off the weapons to Israel. These are things they desperately need in order to continue existing. Well, instead, what do we get? Trump's ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, defies Trump. Without Israel, there would be no America, he says. We owe our very existence to what happened in this land. Are you fucking kidding me? Here you go. Watch this.
It's also my job to represent the importance of Israel to the United States. This is just another reminder that It is your heritage, without a doubt. But, Minister, it is also the heritage of the United States. Without Israel, without the Jewish foundation, there would not be an America. We owe our very existence to what happened in this land.
This is such a fucking humiliation ritual. We started existing in 1776. They started existing in the fucking 1940s. What are you talking about? What is this? The evangelical Christian Zionists, in many respects, are the absolute worst fucking Zionists. Because understand, the reason he cucks himself so thoroughly to Israel and takes Netanyahu to Slurp City on a daily basis is because Jesus is supposed to return in Israel, but only after Israel retakes all of their territory and gets back to a greater Israel. So he openly supports, remember what he said to Ted Cruz? Well, I guess they should take it all, talking about the entire Middle East. He openly supports ethnic cleansing, genocide, a crusade to give Israel more and more territory. And he's literally Israel first to the extent that he says, America couldn't exist without Israel. No, it's quite the opposite, you dumb fat bitch. Jesus Christ, man. And isn't it crazy? This guy, he loves Jesus so much. He's all about Jesus. But would you look at that? Israel shoots a bunch of toddlers in the face, and he's there to cheer it on. Yeah, just like Jesus would do, right? Jesus loves mass murdering little children. He's not about, being anti-wealthy, taxing the rich, looking after the poor, the sick, the downtrodden. No, he's not about that. He wasn't a communist before communism was a thing. Jesus loved to have kids get shot in the face. Jesus Christ, man, it's so crazy. So he's out here directly defying Trump, sucking off Israel at a time when they're, openly putting their middle finger up to effectively their boss here, right? And what does Mike Huckabee do? He takes the side of the enemy. That's what he does. What an insane thing to say. Without Israel, there would be no America. There wasn't an Israel, and there quite literally was in America. So according to Axios, Scoop, CIA Director Ratcliffe told President Trump and other officials that intelligence gathered by the U.S. raised serious doubts about Iran's willingness to make the nuclear concessions the U.S. is seeking in any final deal. Trump's own CIA, just like his ambassador to Israel, is now out there directly undermining what Trump's plan is and what the Memorandum of Understanding says. So his own regime is now turning on itself. Holy shit. Holy shit. We've never seen dissent to this extent. And not surprisingly, it's over the issue of Israel, where the Israel lobby has a tremendous amount of money, a tremendous amount of power, a tremendous amount of control. They basically own the entire Republican Party and at least half the Democratic Party. And now you're seeing what comes to fruition when anything Israel doesn't want is unfolding. Then how about this? Clash Report says, Trump is reportedly considering dismissing several senior officials who opposed the Iran deal, including Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, the guy who we just talked about, and a senior U.S. official reportedly said, quote, the argument has been settled. Those who opposed it may pay a personal price. So all I have to say is, fire those motherfuckers, bro. Get them bitches out of there. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Because the only people who would actually take this position are like actual insane, psychotic, religious fundamentalists who think they're fulfilling biblical prophecy by getting more death and destruction in the Middle East. Or dead-eyed sociopathic warmongers like Pete Kegsbreath, who can only get an erection if children are being mass murdered. Okay? Or people who are completely and utterly bought and owned by the Israel lobby and are basically Israel firsters. Those are the only people who could be against this in any way, shape, or form. Okay? Again, my issue is not that the terms are what they are in this deal. My issue is we're already violating the terms, and there's virtually a 0% chance that we actually follow through with our obligations, which means Iran is going to take us right back to square one and say, no, we're going to control the Strait of Hormuz and we're not going to do our end of the bargain because you guys aren't doing your end of the bargain. That's my fear, is we're totally incompetent, we're liars, we got a bunch of idiots and cheats in there, and that's what I'm worried about. I'm not worried about the terms. The terms themselves are perfectly acceptable. We need to surrender. We should surrender. It's a surrender document as it fucking should be. You don't wage illegal wars of aggression and then get to fucking, brush it off like it's nothing. Murder thousands of people for what? For what? But here we go. Within the White House, there is now dissent. Things are kind of falling apart slowly but surely. And we'll see what happens, man, because like I said, Israel's got blackmail on Trump. And they're going to release it if they feel like this has gone too far and they can't get their way. That's a fact, right? He's also sundowning and very easy to manipulate. That in fact, Israel's already violated the deal. There's a decent chance he doesn't know about it or care, and he still thinks they'll, finish the deal up with Iran. We'll see, but this is a very, very dangerous moment, right? This is a very dangerous moment. I don't know what the hell is going to happen, but things could break down. We could be right back to square one, and there's theoretically sort of a wrestling match now internally in the White House between the people who are desperately trying to save whatever popularity Trump has left, right? Like the J.D. Vances and Trump himself, versus the Mike Huckabees and the Pete Hegseths and the fucking people who are just objectively, ontologically pro-war, right? Like just whatever war we're talking about, they're all in for it. So don't know how this is going to unfold, but like I said, it's a big deal.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So a bunch of Zionist Warpigs are currently absolutely melting down. Why is that? Because Trump agreed to this memorandum of understanding with Iran, where the terms are very pro-Iran. Now, let me just say for the record, I'm happy that this is basically a surrender document and that we theoretically agreed to a surrender document. I'm happy. We should have never done this war in the first place. We massacred a bunch of their civilians. We bombed a bunch of their infrastructure. In no world should that be acceptable. We basically should come begging to them and apologizing and asking for forgiveness and giving them reparations. I'm 100% on board with that. You know who's not on board with that? Zionist warmonger psychopaths. They're not on board with that. They want to continue to do death and destruction in Iran. They want to continue to ruin innocent people's lives. They want to continue to expand Israel to create a greater Israel. But the issue I'm already seeing is that we're not abiding by the deal, right? The deal's already kind of fallen apart. Israel already violated the deal and bombed Lebanon. Trump's brain doesn't function well enough, and he's too easy to manipulate in order for him to see anything through to a conclusion. He's a con man, as you all know. But at the first inkling that the Israeli terror state might not get literally everything they want, oh my God, the Zionist war pigs lost their shit. So here's Ben Shapiro railing against the idea that we might get something resembling peace. Watch this. Here we go.
Hey, then the president put out a statement himself saying, quote, "This morning's attack on Beirut should not have happened." So again, the idea is that Israel is just supposed to accept rockets incoming over its border targeting its citizens as well as drones because Iran says so.
This guy is such a fucking liar. What he doesn't tell you is Israel started all of it. Fuck around and find out, little man. You don't get to routinely attack Lebanon, not just Hezbollah, but innocent people in Lebanon. You don't get to routinely attack them and then go, oh, they're fighting back. How dare they? Shut the fuck up. He doesn't tell you the chain of events, because if he did, you would know who the aggressor is. It's not a surprise the people fighting a war on, 8 fronts tend to be a little aggressive.
And the president says this morning's attack on Beirut should not have happened, particularly on a special day when we are so close to a peace deal with Iran. Well, I will note that on that very special day, Hezbollah, which is an Iranian-backed terror group, fired drones into Israeli sovereign territory.
Gee, I wonder why they did that. Could it be because they were attacked first and because Israel is literally stealing all of South Lebanon and then bombing the capital, Beirut? Could that be why? No, it's got to be that the evil Arab Muslim savages, they're the problem. No, it actually is the Israelis. The settler colonial terror rape state are the problem, Ben.
He said Israel has the right to defend itself against threats, but the attack it was responding to was very small and meaningless. Nobody was hurt, injured, or killed, and should not disrupt this important process. I really don't think the president would see it that way if, say, Mexico had fired a bunch of drones into American soil and blown them up, and no one got killed.
Good thing that didn't happen. And also good thing that in this scenario you created, Mexico would be the aggressor, but in the world that we live in, Israel is the aggressor against Lebanon. Here's a completely different scenario that's utterly made up, where I flipped the causality, and you wouldn't like this, would you? Yeah, I wouldn't, but that's not the same thing. Like, what are we doing here?
I don't think it works that way. I'm pretty sure it doesn't work that way. That you're basically free. We shouldn't spoil this, we shouldn't spoil this very important day just because you fired a rocket at my house and you happen to hit my front lawn and not kill anybody.
Look at how they cry and whine and bitch and moan in a scenario where, like, their bush out front gets destroyed. Meanwhile, they level entire city blocks. They tell people, you have to leave your house in the middle of the night. Then they do, and they go to a safe zone. Then Israel bombs the safe zone. Ben's got nothing to say criticizing that at all. But God forbid you take out a fucking rose bush in his lawn. Oh, how dare you?
That will bring peace to the region, including to Lebanon. And all sides should stand down. All sides should stand down. One of these sides is acting defensively. One of them is a terrorist group responsible.
That's exactly right. She's not the one you think, Ben.
For the death of hundreds, if not thousands, of Americans. He said there should be no more attacks by Israel anywhere in Lebanon. But there should also be no more attacks by any other party, including Hezbollah, against Israel. This could be the beginning of a long and beautiful peace. Let's not blow it. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I'm sorry, these are not kids fighting here. You have a terrorist group that has expressed its desire to wipe Israel from the map, and you have an American ally flying sorties alongside American pilots, sharing technology and military largesse both ways. And the idea is that that state is supposed to what? Just go silent when it is attacked?
The terrorist group is the IDF. They're the terrorist group. Hezbollah is the resistance group. The IDF is the terrorist group. And I say that because we know who started it. Hey, let me ask you a question. Is it Hezbollah stealing Tel Aviv right now? Is that what's happening? Is Hezbollah stealing Tel Aviv? Are they trying to take the territory and kick people out of their houses? Is that what's happening? Oh, no, that's right. That's not what's happening. What's happening is all of southern Lebanon has been stolen by Israel up to the Litani River. And then they're also bombing the capital of Beirut. That's what's happening. Weird how you don't tell us that, Ben.
And then Trump went to Axios. And again, this is just the kind of signaling that is not useful. It is not good. It does not help negotiations. It looks like weakness. And the Iranians can sense weakness. They can smell it. The president went to Barack Ravid at Axios, who used to be like the Obama.
I love how now he's got a problem with Barack Ravid. Barack Ravid has been a literal stenographer for Mossad. He's been doing he's an Israeli propagandist. He literally was like trained in some IDF shit, okay? He's basically like Israel's inside man in the U.S. media to shape the narrative. He's the guy who's done the Biden's mad at Bibi, they're going to break up. Trump is mad at Bibi, they're going to break up. He's done that article 7,000 fucking times. He's never said anything negative about Barack Ravid until now.
J.D. Vance's team's cut out over at Axios, and now the president is using Barack Ravid as his cutout. And the president went to Axios, and he said that he was shocked when his advisors called him to brief about that Israeli strike in Beirut. And he fumed at Netanyahu, quote, "It is so bad I couldn't believe it. An hour before we're supposed to sign the deal."
I have a bridge to sell you if you believe this. How many, we've seen like 9,000. Oh, the president's really mad at Israel. The stories, nothing ever comes of it. I'll know it's real when you cut off the money and cut off the weapons. That's it. No more fuck your If you're actually pissed at them and they actually cross the line, cut off the money, cut off the weapons. They're doing this for optics management. Ben is too stupid to realize that this guy, Barack Ravid, is a propagandist for the government he's trying to do ass covering for right now. He's trying to do the same thing you're doing, you dumb fuck.
Trump acknowledged that Hezbollah attacked Israel first, but stressed it didn't cause any damage and nobody had been killed. Why did Bibi have to do an effing attack? I was so pissed off. I let him know. He has no effing judgment. I let him know that. And then he said the same thing to the Wall Street Journal. Bibi shouldn't have done that. I didn't like it at all. They fired a couple of small missiles and missed their mark by a lot. They have to fire back, then he'll fire back, then the whole thing never stops in the Middle East. So we are now back to what? Cycle of violence nonsense? That suddenly there's no difference between Israel defending itself and Hezbollah firing missiles and rockets?
Oh, there's a big difference. There's a big difference between Israel's violence and Hezbollah's violence. There's a massive difference. It's just exactly the opposite of how you would describe it.
Israelis in Israeli territory? Okay, this is the problem. This is why I am skeptical. So again, I think...
By the way, this entire second Trump regime, he has been taking Trump to Slurp City on a daily basis. He's been coddling those nuts like nobody's business. He's been doing a deep shiatsu massage in his ass. This is the first time he's disagreed with Trump yet. And shocker, it happens to be where Ben is, crying for more war. And then people get mad when you say he's Israel first. What the fuck would you want me to call this? What else am I supposed to call this? This is the most obvious Israel first shit I've ever seen.
That there's not much in the 60-day memorandum. I think the memo of understanding is probably open-ended. I think it probably doesn't involve a lot of substantive discussion. I'm hopeful that essentially all it is the United States saying, listen, we're done here. We've done most of the damage we're willing to do. You want to mess around in the Strait of Hormuz, that's your business. The Europeans and the Chinese can take care of it. We're out. I'm hopeful that's what this is. And that basically there is no second step, because I think a second step would be quite bad. But we're not going to know until we see the text. The one thing I will say with regard to the president and the vice president and the signals they are sending, if you keep sending the signal to a terror-backing regime that chants death to America, that you want to deal with them so badly that you're going to tell our allies in the region to stand down, you are giving them an enormous amount of forward momentum.
We are the terrorists, you dumb bitch. Was it Iran bombing a little girls' school in Iran? Did they bomb a little girls' school in the U.S.? Did they bomb a steel factory in Iran? Did they bomb a steel factory in Israel or the U.S.? Is that what Iran did? Did Iran bomb our bridges? No, actually, it's the exact opposite. We are the terrorists, they are the innocent victim, and nothing is more appropriate than a surrender document when you wage an illegal war of aggression and they have a trump card, pun intended, where now they control the Strait of Hormuz, which means they can control the flow of oil in the global economy, which is the lifeblood of the economy, which means they win. Hold your big, fat, juicy L, you Zionist warmonger prick. Here's Mark Levin losing his goddamn mind for the same reason.
It has murdered Israelis. Are we committed to protecting Hezbollah so it can continue to attack Israel and continue?
All of them lie and act like Hezbollah is the aggressor. Literally, the exact opposite is true, as you all know.
To brutalize the people in Lebanon? This is the lifeline that Iran is depending on. Well, if we are, then this deal won't stand. It won't stand for long, even during the Trump presidency. Israel will not be able to adhere to what would be a suicide pact. The Israeli people won't put up with it.
No, the actual suicide pact was the war against Iran in the first place, you dumb fat fuck. That was the suicide pact. We were never going to win that war. They prepared. They were ready. They had control of the Strait of Hormuz. They were always going to win that war. So when you talk about a suicide pact, it was trying this war in the first place. But all the Israelis know is violence and terrorism and death and destruction, and they want to rain it on everybody around them so they can steal more and more territory. You guys are the ones in a suicide pact. It's the Israelis trying to create greater Israel and the fucking evangelical Christian Zionists who are trying to get Jesus to come back on a winged horse after killing all the Palestinians and the Lebanese. You guys are the ones who are the problem.
The prime minister won't put up with it. We should not accept it either. Because remember, Hezbollah has attacked us. And when Israel is forced to defend itself, including preemptively against Hezbollah in Lebanon, and remember, they're not at war with Lebanon. They have a peace deal with Lebanon. They've never been at war with Lebanon.
What a fucking liar. They literally stole all of South Lebanon, Mark. And you're saying, we're not at war with Lebanon. Then what was the whole stealing the southern part of the country? What's the whole bombing civilian places in Beirut? What's the whole bombing safe zones after you tell people to evacuate? What's the whole making, 700,000, 1 million people evacuate from their homes? That's not at war. So if Iran forces me to evacuate my house in the U.S. and then bombs here, are they allowed to go, oh no, we're not at war with the U.S., we're at war with some rogue faction of terrorists inside the U.S. Then why did 700,000 people have to leave their fucking homes? He really shouldn't be on TV. He should be kicked off TV. This is insane. Just to allow rank, obvious, disgusting, lying propaganda on a daily basis.
And it is said to be in violation of the deal. We saw this play out earlier. Providing the Iranian regime with a strategic opportunity to attack Israel, claiming it's defending its ally, and that Israel violated the deal. What then? Will Israel become a pariah?
Oh yeah, they might become a pariah. Not that they already are, obviously.
And will it be admonished? Iran's counting on it, and so is Hezbollah. Hezbollah must not be in the deal. It must not, and that must be very clear. But to me, and at this stage, it's not very clear.
No, Hezbollah is in the deal, and it needs to stay in the deal. And Iran has made clear, listen, we're not fucking around anymore. We know we have leverage on you. So if Israel continues to attack in Lebanon, we're going to attack it. We're going to attack Israel. Now they can do that because they know they have a strategic advantage. And the reason they know they have that strategic advantage is because Netanyahu and the dumbass Israelis and Trump who tried this war in the first place. Okay, not done. Here's this guy, John Podhoretz, however you say it. And he fucking loses his mind about this as well. Let's listen.
I honestly don't know if it could be worse, because if this war ends the way I fear it's going to, America is going to be in a strategically, tactically, and militarily worse position than it was under Biden and before Trump came back into power.
I guess you shouldn't have started the illegal war of aggression then, huh? I guess you shouldn't have bombed that little girls' school then, huh? I guess you shouldn't have bombed the steel factory and the bridges then, huh? I guess you shouldn't wage an illegal war of aggression, fail miserably, and then get fucking checkmated and then whine about it, huh?
That is to say, he made a choice to test America's resolve, America's ability to win war, to exert its will, to change the nature of the map, and he has choked. He has chickened out. He has bled himself dry.
Notice the phrasing here. Trump has choked, he's chickened out, he's bled himself dry. In other words, the better thing to do is not to chicken out. So keep going. Yeah, but if you keep going and you have no goals, you have no aim, you have no prayer of winning, then what's the point? Well, the point is, the forever war is the point to people like this. All he wants is the forever war. All he wants is the death and the destruction. Why? Because if you destroy the Iranian government and you make it a failed state, then Israel has no regional adversary in the region that can push back on their dominance and their hegemony. That's the point. And so he's really saying the quiet part loud here. That this has nothing to do with protecting us or whatever the fuck, or Iranian nuclear weapons or whatever the fuck. No, it literally has to do with a greater Israel project. You have to get Iran off the table as an adversary. So just do the forever war. Waste the money, waste the weapons, waste the lives, destroy a whole region, kill U.S. soldiers, get us more and more into debt. Don't care. The point is the forever war.
and better that we shouldn't have done it in the first place.
Yes.
Because we have 25 years left. We have 75 years left of this century. We have 75 years left of the century. Trump, the crazy lunatic psychotic who doesn't care about lives and will do anything and do anything, could not bear the idea of putting a boot on the ground anywhere in Iran.
Good.
And could not bear the idea of a single American possibly being taken hostage, which I understand. I'm not saying that either of those is a good thing, but if you're going to go to war, you have to put boots on the ground.
Listen to this fucking chicken hawk. 13 U.S. soldiers are dead, and he's demanding more U.S. blood for his fucking illegal war of aggression, which has zero chance of success. Zero. We couldn't fucking handle Iraq with Saddam Hussein. Why the fuck would you think we could handle a much bigger, more powerful, more intelligent country?
Going to go to war, you have to understand that there are sacrifices that not only is the military, which is a volunteer military, everyone in the military has volunteered to put their lives on the line for their country, and that the country itself may have to sacrifice in the form of wildly higher oil prices if you think that the American national interest has to be engaged in this process. And if you go into the process and you lose it, and it's a complete war of choice, you have made things worse. The situation is worse.
Yeah, so you never should have done it in the first place. That's exactly right. Instead, what he's saying is you should keep going. I love Zionist Warpigs lecturing us about sacrifice. From your fucking air-conditioned studio on your podcast, sending other people's kids to go die for a war that there's no chance of winning and that shouldn't have been waged in the first place because we're the aggressor and it's illegal aggression and it's terrorism. Oh my God.
It's worse than it was on the 28th of February. And to get to the point that Seth was going to, which is why I'm so crazy passionate about this. When we were talking about this in January,
unlike you usually are, you're just crazy passionate about this.
No, I'm out of my mind here. I haven't felt like this in a long time. Actually, we said in early January, the problem with the American response to the Iranian uprising is that there is a history of America with populations under totalitarian rule rising up, and then those populations getting the idea that we were going to be the cavalry and ride in and help them and save them and help them win.
These motherfuckers live in like a fucking sci-fi movie. That doesn't happen in the real world, you dumb bitch. Oh, Trump goes out there on Lie Social and says, Iranians, rise up. We just took out your leader, rise up. And then what happened? People took to the street to defend the government. Because when there's an outsider bombing you, yeah, you tend to rally around the flag a little bit. That's kind of how human nature works. And these idiots all acted like, oh, yes, the glorious Iranian resistance will rise and take the reins and we'll get a new Shah in power, like that asshole who lives in fucking L.A. who acts like, I'm running the transition at the moment. No, you're not, you fucking liar, you con man. It's like Ahmed Chalabi with Iraq. It was the same thing. It's a guy who said he could run the country. He had no fucking mandate. Nobody wanted him there. Like, listen to this bullshit. The dumb, lazy analysis of what other people will do in a different country when we bomb them. They're going to love being bombed. They're going to love some randos coming in and taking the reins of power. Like, the way that you dehumanize these other people as you describe them is out of this world.
From Hungary to Prague and onward, and that under those conditions, there were tragic consequences to those uprisings where they were crushed and tens of thousands of people killed and hundreds of thousands of people jailed and all of that because they got the wrong idea from us. And at least Dwight Eisenhower in 1956 didn't say to the Hungarian people, help is on the way.
Oh, these poor Iranians are crushed because we didn't come and help them. Well, actually, no, the poor Iranians are being crushed because we're mass carpet bombing them. He's against the violence done by the Iranian government against the Iranian people, but he's for the violence being done by the U.S. government and the Israeli government against the Iranian people. In fact, in the first day of the war, Israel was carpet bombing the area of Tehran, which was known to be an opposition stronghold that had most of the people who supported the U.S. in Israel. Israel bombed there as well. Because again, it wasn't about regime change, it's about creating a failed state. And so he's whining and crying and bitching and moaning about the Iranians don't treat their people well. And then he turns around and goes, the U.S. and Israel should continue to carpet bomb those people and murder them. This is the mindset of the Zionist war pig hack, okay? Not done yet, though, because he also says this. Here we go.
We stopped carpet bombing them to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Now we're removing, the blockade to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Next time we'll be giving up something else to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. This is the way negotiations with the Iranians work.
I love how the implication here is like, just fucking accept a fucking $6 a gallon gas, $7 a gallon gas. Just accept a global oil energy crisis and an economic depression. Like, shut the fuck up and deal with it.
That's the way negotiations with us work.
Yeah.
It's about us. It's not about them. What they want is completely clear. They want freedom of action. They want to be able to close or open the Strait of Hormuz at will. They want to continue their nuclear program, and they want to continue to build ballistic missiles. And we are extending to every one of those. From what
they want survival.
Well, that's not true. We are not caving on certainly the nuclear part of that, but we should. We should. And this is what you get when you win a war. This is what you get. You get the terms that you want. They won the war. They were illegally attacked. They stood strong. They prepared properly. They control the Strait of Hormuz. They have that veto power over whatever we do. And so they win. So fucking deal with it.
They want a nuclear program, and they want to drag out negotiations through the election. They want to humiliate Donald Trump and move on to the next president.
And they've already succeeded. I don't know what they need to keep going for.
True. He's right about this. They did humiliate Trump. No doubt about it.
They negotiate, not negotiate. Nobody on the planet Earth is going to see this unless you are literally a paid agent of MAGA related to Donald Trump or some lunatic who is really excited by the possibility of Trump turning on Israel. There is no person on earth who is going to say that America didn't lose this war.
100%. We absolutely lost this war. But here's the thing that he's not acknowledging. There's literally no other possible outcome. The fact that they control the strait so well as they do, and they plan for this extensively, means there's no world in which we win this war. It's not happening.
There is nobody.
The U.S. has lost this round, but I want to.
No, we didn't lose this round. We lost, period. And that's what happens. Even if you're somebody who was pro-Iran war to begin with, I saw this point online. I thought it was very good. You still shouldn't want Trump to do it because he's going to do it in the dumbest, most incompetent, and stupid way possible, right? That's the fact. Like, even if you support the Iran war, like, you should be thinking, well, not like this because he's going to fuck it up. And he did. But there actually is no way to do it properly because it's an illegal war of aggression. It's wrong. It's terrorism, all that stuff. But as long as they control that Strait of Hormuz, which they clearly planned extensively for, there's nothing we can do. They win. Because at some point, we're going to blink. Because at some point, we have economic depression on the horizon. And are you willing to do that? Are you willing to go through that and lose whatever semblance of a fucking legacy he has left? He doesn't anymore. He ruined all of it. But, like, in his mind, it's like, okay, this could actually get really fucking bad. I got to back out this bitch. So here we are. But the Zionist meltdown is glorious. It is over the top. It is disturbing. And understand, I need you to get this point, because this point matters. These people have all the power. Okay? They have all the power. Why do I say that? Because the Israel lobby is a very powerful lobby. They bought the entire Republican Party and most of the Democratic Party. Okay? You also have people who ideologically are just in favor of their arguments in the sense that they're dyed-in-the-wool warmongers like Pete Hegseth, or they're evangelical Christian Zionists like Mike Huckabee. And so their ideology is the dominant ideology. It's why there was the war against Iran in the first place that we did. It's why we had the war in Iraq as well. So it's kind of dangerous that they're showing what they really think, and there's a lot of people with a lot of money and a lot of power who agree with them. And so they will try to undermine and sabotage this deal 57 ways to Sunday, and Trump doesn't have the ability to go around them, right? And so will they release Epstein blackmail on Trump? Very possibly. Will they just ignore the terms and go back to bombing? Well, they already did that. So the question is, how is Iran going to respond now that Israel already violated the deal? We shall see, but these are the dumbest, craziest, most obnoxious people running this country. It's like a literal war cult that is running the country, and they are throwing an absolute tantrum right now.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So as many of you know, I am not the biggest Gavin Newsom fan. And the reason I'm not is because half the time he pretends like he's the biggest, baddest, best MAGA fighter. But the other half the time he pretends like, oh, I'm the reasonable middle ground guy, and let's hold hands and sing Kumbaya, and let's reach across the aisle and work together. And from my perspective, you can't be both of those things. You have to pick one, right? And I would prefer you be the MAGA fighter, but substantively, he's not that because, for example, he opposes the billionaire tax in California. To me, that's almost like, that's almost like strike one, you're out. And I say that because, 80-90% of the Democratic base says, yes, tax billionaires. And he comes out and says, no, I'm not going to do that. He also sat across from Ben Shapiro and said that Israel is not committing genocide, which is just insane at this point to say something like that. So he's just had a number of failures. He's also, they ran out the clock to effectively block universal health care in California. So he really, like, he's a very corporate Democrat, a very centrist Democrat. And, you know, I don't like that he sort of tries to mask that by having a really good Twitter account, his communications Twitter account, which, like, you know, says all the right things and goes after the right people. So I'm not the biggest fan of him. However, if there was any single thing that could have happened which would make him more relevant, make him a bigger threat for 2028, it just happened now. Because Trump is doing political persecution and illegally targeting him and his family over some absolute bullshit. Okay, so let's watch this and we'll break it down. Here we go. He's responding to the fact that apparently the feds are coming after his family. Watch this.
In recent days, federal agents have knocked on the doors of family, friends, and former employees. Not because they found a crime, because they're simply trying to find one. They're demanding records. They're abusing the grand jury process, digging through years and years of random documents. Donald Trump isn't just coming after me because of my mean tweets. He's coming after me because I'm considering running for president, because he hates that I've consistently called him out over and over again for his lies and deceit.
Now, let me just say right away, I think he's right. I think he's right about this. In fact, I think you're insane if you think, like, oh no, this was like serious police work that led to, you know, serious evidence of actual malfeasance. Utter nonsense. In fact, if it was under Joe Biden that his DOJ was going after Gavin Newsom's wife, I'd probably come out here and say, man, there's got to be something there. I mean, Biden's going after him, so it makes sense, right? Because they actually gave a shit about domestic law to one extent or another. You know, for example, they went after Bob Menendez. They went after a number of Democrats, and when they went after Democrats, it was because those Democrats were committing crimes. So almost any other president, even other Republicans, if they had some investigation into Newsom's wife, I'd be out here going, yeah, I can see that, right? But under Trump, 0% chance there's like actual evidence of any wrongdoing here. Zero. None. Because look at everybody else who they've gone after. They've gone after fucking Letitia James and Don Lemon and James Comey in 48 different ways. Like, they're actively making a point of going after their political opponents and barely even trying to pretend like there's a serious, real reason for that. Let's keep going.
Donald Trump is simply the most corrupt president in American history. He's turned the levers of government into his own personal power ministries to reward cronies and to try to jail his opponents. His personal attorney now runs the Department of Justice, which has repeatedly gone after his political enemies. Ask Jerome Powell. Sent them after James Comey, Tish James, Adam Schiff. He sent them after Tim Walz, and a woman that a jury found Donald Trump had sexually abused. One by one, anyone who has challenged Donald Trump has ended up on his hit list. And today, I proudly join that list. After calling for my arrest last year, Donald Trump directed his Department of Justice to investigate me. And just in the last week, I've learned that his campaign has reached my own home. To get me, he's coming after my wife, Jen, a public servant, a woman who's dedicated her life to supporting women and girls, someone who has done nothing wrong other than having the temerity to advocate for what she believes in. If they can't intimidate me, they'll go after the mother of our children. Donald Trump picked the wrong target. We have nothing to hide. His political operatives can take every record and read every page, but they'll be looking in the wrong place. Because if they really want to find corruption, look no further than 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Donald Trump is selling the presidency. He's running the largest cash heist in American political history, trading foreign tariff relief for approval of his golf courses, day trading behind the Resolute desk, reaping hundreds of millions of dollars in personal profit. And he's doing it openly. He's doing it on camera. He did it last night on the White House lawn. He's doing it through cryptocurrencies. He's doing it through the receipt of a $400 million private jet from a foreign government that he plans to keep when he leaves office. Through his son's ventures in countries where his own administration is simultaneously making policy. His personal fortune has skyrocketed by $4 billion since making his return to office. This is the behavior of a regime, not a republic. The White House has become a marketplace for sneakers and coins and watches, cologne, guitars, Bibles, and phones. Influence for sale, access for sale. And today, my family and I can personally confirm that justice is for sale. To Donald Trump, who I know is watching because he watches everything, I have a message for you. You can subpoena my records. You can investigate me. You can harass me. Put my name on every and any enemies list you have, but leave my wife and family out of your personal vendetta. I'd like to say something to my wife. These times are not normal. They're not ordinary. I love you, and I'm sorry he's doing this. You have not earned a single one of the indignities that he's trying to inflict on you and our children. And to Donald Trump, this country does not belong to you. It does not belong to your cronies. And we're going to fight your lawlessness. And we're going to continue to remind the people of this country of your corruption. That same corruption our founders warned us against as we move to celebrate our 250th anniversary. I'm going to keep reminding Americans of what they warned would happen if a man with no character ever held the office of presidency. So let me say it again. Mr. President, come after me. I'm not going anywhere. And the country is watching.
It's at the point now where all the things that Trump does ends up shooting himself in the dick. Because, like, yeah, you just made it. Like, Gavin Newsom probably just went up 5 points in the 2028 polls, right? Having this happen. We could all agree to that, right? Because, like, even people like me, I'm not a fan of Gavin Newsom. He's pretty far down the list in terms of which Democrats would be my favorite for 2028. But if even people like me go, oh, well, this is obvious bullshit, then there's gonna be a backlash effect. It's gonna fucking happen. And like I said, he's making a mockery of the system. You know, like, nobody believes it anymore. Like, checks and balances are gone. The idea of justice being blind, rule of law, like, this is the same regime that is basically stripping constitutional rights. This is the same regime that says we don't care about due process for immigrants. Due process is now gone for immigrants. We don't care about getting a warrant in order to do certain activities for immigration, which is mandated by law, but they just don't bother. They get a fake warrant, an executive warrant, as opposed to a judicial warrant, which is not real, right? Like, it's the same government that's doing that and waging illegal wars of aggression that's now turning around and going, what, Gavin Newsom's wife did tax evasion, which could be something as simple as like, oh, you took too many write-offs, right? Like, and this is like a high crime. Meanwhile, ready? Look at this. Trump has pardoned dozens, maybe over 40 or 50 massive white-collar fraudsters, okay? Just to name a few. Philip S. Formes, $1.3 billion Medicare fraud, pardoned him. Lawrence Duran, $205 million Medicare fraud, pardoned him. Jason Galanis, $60 million fraud, pardoned. Devin Archer, $60 million bond fraud, pardoned. Joseph Schwartz, $39 million fraud, pardoned. Todd and Julie Chrisley, $30 million bank fraud, pardoned. This guy, who is on a literal crime spree, oh, I should point out, this is actual pay-to-play. Like, you go down to Mar-a-Lago or have a family member go down to Mar-a-Lago, give Trump $1 million personally, he'll pardon whoever the fuck you want. So this guy, who's on a historic crime spree, is now going to start investigating. Oh, wow, would you look at that? What a surprise. He's investigating all of his political enemies. Turns out he thinks all of his enemies are the problem. Now, again, I want to stress something. There is no comparison, because people will say, oh, they weaponized justice against Trump. No, they didn't. He's an actual criminal, and he was being held accountable. He was looked at for 91 crimes. He's a 34-time convicted felon. Like, no, he actually just is a criminal and got caught. And the reason I know that is the same Justice Department that was going after him is the same Justice Department that went after Bob Menendez and other Democrats who committed crimes. Okay? Very different from this, which is, I don't know, come up with something to go after James Comey, come up with something to go after Letitia James, come up with something to go after this person and that person and this person. And, oh, all those people are just critics of Trump. And so you can't, it's never going to land with people, and they're never going to respect you or think it's fair when, if your political opponents get caught doing anything, you throw the book at them. But on your side, I mean, I can't even keep up with the number of crimes, right? The hundreds of millions of dollars in insider trading, the attempt to rob the American taxpayers of $1.776 billion and make a slush fund to pay off your terrorist January 6ers and your family and your friends, okay? Your crypto scam coin, that alone, Trump should be in prison for life on that alone, the crypto scam coin, right? People don't remember. Trump pardoned a guy who laundered money for Al-Qaeda because that guy bought $100 million worth of Trump's Liberty tokens, okay? Never mind the fucking Bitcoin mining operation that his idiot sons have, or the executive branch club, which the whole point of that is pay-to-play corruption, or the hotel in Dubai, or the golf course in Qatar. I mean, we're talking about a family that is not legally allowed to operate a charity in New York because they stole from a children's cancer charity. That's what we're talking about. And I'm supposed to take him seriously when he goes after his political opponents' wives? Like, this man truly, people always joked about Jeffrey Epstein made a point. And when you have, like, one of the most well-known evil pedophiles saying this about you, holy cow. But even Jeffrey Epstein said, Trump is a man with no scruples. In other words, he's lower than one of the most prolific pedophiles in human history. How bad is that, right? Like, the dark secrets of this man. And he just lets it all hang out, man, with his political persecution. With this, I'll try to bury all my opponents. And that, look, he's not going to leave. He's not going to leave. He doesn't want to leave. There's no way he's going to leave willingly. Not a chance. They're going to try to steal 2026. They're going to try to steal 2028. The only thing that might save us is his fucking failing health. That's the only thing that might save us. But a guy who's doing shit like this, a guy who's trying to build the ballroom despite the fact it's illegal, it's been slapped down by courts, he's still trying to do it. He's not building the ballroom. The ballroom's probably only going to be done in 4 years from now. You think this motherfucker's going to, I'll build it and let the next guy use it. No, he's going to try to stay in power. And every time you see an abuse of power like this, it should remind you of that fact. That what we're dealing with here is genuine evil. We're dealing with genuine fascism and authoritarianism and extremism and white nationalism and oligarchy and kakistocracy. Like, it is off the charts what we're witnessing here. And people have become so accustomed to the craziness. When you have a new round of political persecution, it barely fucking registers, right? I didn't even see much talk about this Gavin Newsom thing because people shrug and they go, yeah, it sounds about right. He's going after all of his fucking political opponents. Of course he's going after all of his political opponents. And everybody knows it's bullshit. Everybody knows. Everybody knows they're probably not even going to be able to get anything. Right? That's the thing, is they want the headlines and they want to put these people through hell and they want them to waste money on lawyers' fees. But a lot of these things, they know that, this isn't never going to actually work. I mean, how many times have judges laughed Trump and his people out of the courtroom because their cases are so preposterous, right? Like when they illegally shipped innocent immigrants to CCOT to be tortured and raped, and they just like lied to the judge, and the judge is like, are you fucking serious? You guys didn't even prepare at all? Like, this is what we're dealing with. It's amateur hour. They are just totally, completely, and utterly out of their mind, and all they want to do is inflict damage, pain, death, destruction on people that disagree with them. The whole infrastructure is self-dealing and triggering the libs, right? Fascism and terrorism and triggering the libs. That's the whole plan. And so people need to look in the mirror and ask themselves, hey, is my life any better because of what Trump is doing? And the answer is unequivocally, absolutely not.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, guys, here we go again. So we are being told that there was allegedly now, fifth assassination attempt on Trump? Fourth, fifth, sixth, something like that. We are being told that the FBI foiled a plot to do a drone assassination campaign of the outdoor UFC fight at the White House. All right, this is what we're being told. I'm just your humble middleman delivering to you what I've seen. So shout out to Midas Touch and Ben here. They have a piece out. Major red flags surface on Trump drone assassination plot. So let's take a look at this and we'll break it down. And then I'll give you some more information on this, which is very sketchy. Here we go.
Major red flags are surfacing over what the Trump regime claims was a fifth assassination attempt directed at Donald Trump, this time by a drone swarm at the UFC event. Donald Trump's FBI director, Kash Patel, is saying today that the FBI prevented a fifth assassination attempt against Donald Trump when a group of people, with the ringleader being from Ohio, were about to launch these drones to attack the White House. Now, folks, I think there are major red flags with the story. In fact, go back and watch what I reported on Sunday morning. I'll show that to you in a little bit. Before the UFC event, I was telling you that my sources were saying that they were going to try to fake a drone attack or gin up that there was a drone attack on the White House that they were going to divert.
So there's a video of Ben saying, here's what they're going to try to say. They're going to try to say there's a drone assassination attempt on Trump. I don't even know what to say at this point, bro. I don't even know what to say. Like, what is this world that we live in? What are we witnessing? Can they go a fucking month without one of these things happening, right? Can they go a month without this? All right, let's keep going.
The video I made Sunday morning, and here we are on Tuesday when I'm recording this, and that's precisely what they are claiming. Now, this comes at the same time that the Washington Post did an expose that the ballroom that Donald Trump wants to build is going to cost about $600 million, and half of the funding is going to come from taxpayers. So I think it's reasonable to ask questions. Are you using this as a pretext to now build a ballroom? Because Donald Trump has been saying that part of the ballroom is that it's drone proof and that any drone that hits it will kind of magically evaporate. I'll show you what Donald Trump said there in a moment. But let's just go through this. Let's bring out the receipts piece by piece, as we always do here at the Midas Touch Network. So what did Kash Patel state this morning? And then what did Fox, which is state regime media, instantly report? Kash Patel posts the following. On June 10th, FBI and our law enforcement partners became aware of a potential threat to the UFC America 250 event in Washington involving individuals outside of the National Capital Region. And thanks to the rapid action of this FBI, our partners in the Department of Justice, in a multi-state operation, multiple individuals are now in custody, and allegedly planned attacks were stopped cold. While the result represented the best of investigative work, it was also nothing out of the ordinary for this law enforcement team. We are built to detect, respond, and bring to justice those who threaten the lives of American citizens, particularly during large gatherings like the historic UFC 250 fight. That's exactly what we did here. I want to thank our great agents and partners. This work remains ongoing, and we will continue to update the public as permitted. We continue to encourage any American to report anything suspicious at 1-800-CALL-FBI. So they're saying this.
So you should already be skeptical that, like, instantly as soon as the thing is over, you have Kash Patel basically peacocking on social media and bragging and being like, "We were able to stop this thing. Aren't we amazing? Aren't we great? We foiled the plot. We're special, bro. Like, we got this thing on lock." That should already be red flags for the simple reason that this guy, he always does this shit. Remember when he did there was a shooting that they said was targeting ICE agents, but in reality, they targeted actual immigrants and killed immigrants, and then they wrote anti-ICE on the bullets, and he was out there like this with answers on the shit. It's very bizarre. It's very bizarre that he tries to jump in front of every camera, he tries to craft the narrative, and they're saying this instantly. You would think that if there was a plot that was foiled, like, you would want to shut the fuck up, Ski, so that you can carry out the process and collect the evidence and get these people arrested and figure it all out. Like to go right to the public is a red flag. It's almost like you want the public to know and you want a reaction. And, like, why would you want that instead of just doing the police work the proper way? All right, let's continue.
This is the 5th assassination attempt on Donald Trump, and this is the 3rd in basically a month at this point, or a month and a half. So state regime media, which calls itself Fox, then runs this headline. FBI disrupts alleged explosive drone plot targeting White House UFC event, officials say. Signal chats allegedly revealed 23 people discussing pre-operational activity. So who was the ringleader? Apparently, they're claiming it's this guy right here, an individual by the name of Tyson Proper, 19 years old.
No. I saw this online, too. You're telling me this dude is 19 years old? No shot. No shot. That is not a 19-year-old. Bro, he's balding like a motherfucker. Bro looks like he's fucking my age. He looks like he's 38. What are you talking about? What the fuck?
19 years old, from Knox County, Ohio. Seemed that he was someone who was in a Signal chat, who was calling out Donald Trump and Epstein class and making a lot of statements on the Signal chat with 22 buddies or people that he knew. And this was the terrorist cell that they said was planning on launching this attack. Now we have the indictment that was brought. And it seems that most of the work was actually being done by Knox County in central Ohio, not by the FBI. Just Kash Patel learned about this and wants to, I guess, take credit for this and I think exaggerate what this is. Look, I want to take...
Oh, that's interesting. So he's saying that there was Ohio law enforcement were the ones that actually sort of stopped this and figured it out and collected the evidence and stuff, and Kash Patel is just trying to take credit for it and exaggerate what it actually was.
All threats very seriously. I'm not trying to demean or downplay, these things, but we called what was going to happen, and it seems, you could disagree with me, that at worst, it was just 23 people who were just saying a bunch of crazy stuff, which is bad and it needs to be investigated, but they're acting like this was some plot that was about to go down, or, this is all something that the FBI is using again as yet another kind of false flag or pretext, just asking questions in order to justify this ballroom and the other fascist agendas of this regime. Look, you go through this this filing by the DOJ and FBI. Let's go to paragraph 19. Some of the more serious members of this group that was involved in this apparent drone plan, including Proper, that's the guy you saw, Tyson Proper, the 19-year-old, moved their communications over to the encrypted communication app Signal. There, they planned an attack for the upcoming White House UFC event. Proper believed many of the group members had prior military experience. The group was broken up into 3 tiers, with Tier 1 having to meet physical fitness standards and acquire equipment such as personal body armor and firearms. Proper admitted to being one of the team leaders. This guy was the Tier 1 guy. This guy was the Tier 1 team leader. I'm just saying, you can take a look at.
Also, what are you talking? Who does this? Who does this? Yeah, let's plan like we're going to make ourselves basically like, we're like SEAL Team 6, but of terrorist murderers. And like there's Tier 1, 2, and 3, and you could be in this one and this one. And like, what is there? Some fucking like, way you get promoted and shit? Like, what is this? What are we talking about? You created some sort of organization? Like, are there forms people fill out? Like, I don't know. All this is very weird.
As Kyle Seraphin says, the bad guys online were ultra-religious, anti-government, citing grievances involving corruption, the Epstein files, and data centers taking up all the water. On June 11th, I contacted Proper's mother for a telephone interview. This is what the FBI account of it was. For additional information, she detailed Proper had recently begun interacting with a group online comprised of individuals who claimed to be ex-military and Christian-based. She didn't know the name of the group, but they expressed ultra-religious, anti-government sentiments, specifically citing grievances about government corruption, the handling of the Epstein files, data centers, taking up all water in communities, and other government actions. Proper's mother detailed that talking with these individuals online has caused Proper to lean heavily into his religion.
Now, I have to say, little spoiler alert here, but as we go on, we were able to get the political posts of one of these people, and shocker, was a big Trump supporter. Why is it always like something happens and you look it up and you're like, oh, this person at some point was a massive Trump supporter? It's such a consistent fucking theme that we've seen with these things.
And she believed those individuals were using religion to manipulate and influence her son. And now another one of the purported leaders of this drone assassination plot was somebody by the name of Michael Allen Thomas. And here's how state regime media, which calls itself Fox, writer and reporter Bill Mulligan details it. Breaking. Details via federal arrest affidavit reveal that a California man named Michael Allen Thomas was also one of the alleged organizers of the alleged UFC White House terror plot. Feds say he admitted he believes the U.S. government is run by elites who sacrifice and eat children, had involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, and are protected by President Trump. Investigators took screenshots of his Signal chats in which details of the plot were discussed and maps of the UFC event were shown with suggestions on where snipers should be placed. Feds also recovered rifles and ammo. Sources tell colleagues David's punt those in custody are American citizens and there is no foreign nexus believed to be at play. So then J.D. Vance did an appearance on state regime media, which calls itself Fox today. J.D. Vance was very heavy on the eyeliner this morning during his appearance, and here's what he had to say. Play this clip.
It's very scary. We learned about this, about 30 minutes ago, an hour ago, in the middle of our show.
Sure.
Why do you think they're telling us this? Because I know there's a lot going on behind the scenes with the FBI.
Sure.
We don't always find out. Why do you think they're telling us this now? What's your reaction?
Well, I think they're telling us because the scale of the plane attack is so significant, and I think it's important for us to be as transparent.
He is heavy on the eyeliner. Oh, my days. What the fuck? I like when Jennifer Welch calls him the failed drag queen or the smoky-eyed sociopath. What is going on here?
Transparent as we can be about these ongoing investigations. We want to tell the American people what's going on, of course, but I actually just heard about it this morning myself. And so this is a very, very dark stuff. And unfortunately, we're talking about this a little bit off camera, but this is what happens when people turn the rhetoric up so loud that disagreeing with somebody is a cause for violence.
I am not going to take lectures on violence from a guy who's in a regime that just carpet bombed a little girls' school in Iran. Okay? I'm not going to take lectures on violence from the VP who's overseeing the fucking bombing of fishing boats in the Caribbean and the Pacific. Not going to take lectures on violence from a guy who's in favor of these ICE concentration camps and shoving immigrants in there without due process. Please fucking spare me. They're always so quick to the narrative immediately, right? They're always so quick to like, this is because Democrats are mean to Trump and they say things that are rude. It's like, really? Are we doing this whole thing again?
The place that we've come to, unfortunately, with too much of our political rhetoric.
And then, of course, on what they call on state regime media, Fox and Friends, they went into this story. Drone attack, nearly diverted. There was going to be all of these drones that were about to swarm the White House at the UFC event. And Kash Patel saved the day again.
When you look at the details, it's obviously like a bunch of fucking yokels, right? And they make it seem like they were on some like very professional shit. like they know exactly what they're doing, and here's the map, and here's where we put the snipers, and this and that, and it's like then you see, and the guy's a fucking balding 19-year-old, and he looks like he's got like mental health challenges and IQ issues.
Here's what they say on state regime. Let's play it.
This breaking news just into the Fox newsroom. The FBI disrupting this alleged plot, targeting the UFC Freedom 250 event at the White House. Officials telling Fox a network of nearly 24 potential plotters were identified, with at least 5 people in custody right now. The suspects allegedly traveled to Fredericksburg, Virginia to make final preparations for the attack. And the alleged plan allegedly included explosive-packed drones hitting buildings near the event, forcing a mass evacuation.
A bunch of yokels with a massive fleet of drones? What are they talking about?
And then steering crowds, get this, toward a pre-staged sniper team.
No shot. No shot. These unfuckable little twerps and dweebs were... Yeah, oh yeah, they got all this worked out to a T. They're going to divert people and they'll run that way, then you sniper them, but also you have the suicide drones that you like... Well, this is not the IRGC. These are a bunch of like fucking virgin nerds.
Second wave was then planned to storm the White House gate. The FBI first learned of the threat on June.
Storm the White House gate. Oh yeah, that's going to go well. You got a guy with a "Don't Tread on Me" shirt and a cigarette in his mouth going, I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there. Like, what are we talking about?
And worked with law enforcement across multiple states to stop it. FBI Director Kash Patel saying, quote, "We are built to detect, respond to, and bring to justice those who threaten the lives of American citizens, particularly during large gatherings like the historic UFC 250 fight." That's exactly what we did here. Over 4,300 people were in attendance for UFC 250, which included 1,200 service members. Luckily, nobody was harmed during the FBI's takedown. The event went off without a hitch.
Then Donald Trump was asked about it at the G7, and Trump apparently had no clue what was even taking place. Let's play it.
Mr. President, were you briefed on the attack?
Man, he looks like shit, bro. I'm going to do a segment on this tomorrow, but at the G7, oh my God, he looked like absolute donkey shit.
Attack plans for the UFC event at the White House? There was the FBI thwarted an attack.
I haven't heard about it, no. But I watched, the attack that I watched were the fighters.
He sounds like hell, too.
And he saw it, too, by the way. He was sitting back home in his beautiful palace, and he was watching that. And they were as good a fights as I've ever seen, right? The best fight. The best. They were. That last fight was brutal. Wow. And all of the fights. The two fights. It was all good. It was a great evening. It was very different for the White House, but I wish you could have been there. We built an incredible arena. Dana did a great job.
Is there going to be another fight next year?
He actually has a toddler brain, bro. He actually has a toddler brain. Listen to him. Theoretically, he's being asked here about, hey, you almost got killed again, bro. There's another assassination attempt, the 5th one on your life. These keep happening all the fucking time. And instead of like responding to that, he's like, sure do love the UFC. What a great event. Have you heard of my ballroom? My ballroom's really incredible. Have you heard of the Arc de Trump? Have you heard of the Arc de Trump or the Trump Kennedy Center? Have you heard of that? Like, he's got his pet projects, and his baby brain just always reverts to whatever the fuck that is. Why is it he'll still hold grudges from like fucking 1982? He'll be angry at Barbara Streisand or Bette Midler or Rosie O'Donnell, but he never brings up Thomas Michael Crooks. He never brings up the other 4 or 5 alleged attempted assassins against him. It's just very weird. You would think that a guy who's still pissed at like Letitia James would at least throw some things out there every now and then about the people who tried to mark him. But no, didn't. All right, let's keep going.
Well, I don't know. I got away with it. It was 250 years. Maybe another 50, maybe 300.
So now I want to share with you what I said on Sunday morning. You can go back and see for yourself the date that I predicted that this was going to happen. And I was trying to flag it so if it did happen, I can say, look what I told you on Sunday they were going to do, just so you know that we have a line into what they're doing at this point. So you can just see for yourself that we have an understanding, and I think you do intuitively, but like we called it to a T what they were going to say on Tuesday on Sunday morning, and about drones too. Here, this is what I said Sunday morning. Let's play it. Donald Trump is fearing for his life ahead of the UFC event tonight on his 80th birthday. He's leaking to the press that he fears a fifth assassination attempt, and he's leaking the plans out to the press about how secure the event is going to be, which in my view raises major red flags. But he's also leaking out to numerous outlets that they're worried about a drone strike hitting him tonight, and that there could be drones coming from Iran. I kid you not. There are sources close to Donald Trump and people who are speaking to the press saying that they believe that Iran may be engaged in a mission to avenge Donald Trump assassinating Soleimani back in 2020 by sending drones to kill Donald Trump tonight. And so one of the reasons for this, though, that was obvious to me is that Trump's been going around talking about he needs the ballroom for drone proofing. So that's why it was pretty clear to me that that's what they were going to say.
I forgot about that. Trump has been going, at our ballroom, we're gonna have drones that can come out of the ceiling of it, and then they fly and they can protect us, and the drones can do that, and we'll be able to block the drones who come to us. That's what we'll be able to do. He's been making a big deal about the ballroom and drones, ballroom and drones, ballroom and drones, and then now for the UFC fight, they say, oh yeah, there was like a drone swarm that was gonna come kill Trump, which is why we definitely need that ballroom. Oh my God, bro. Oh my God, bro. This is just like after the last one when every right-wing hack on the planet was like, ballroom? Ballroom? Yeah, we need a ballroom, right? The dude was barely in handcuffs, and they were like, this is why we need a ballroom. Everybody knows we need a ballroom. And now we get this. Oh, my word.
This morning, Washington, see how we connect the dots here? This morning, new documents obtained by the Washington Post show the price to build the ballroom has ballooned to $600 million, up from its initial $200 million estimate, with more than half expected to be paid by U.S. taxpayers.
Jesus Christ.
And then think about all the times Donald Trump's been posting about drone port this.
Oh, my God, bro. Oh, my God. I'm sorry. At this point, I put nothing by these people. Nothing by these people. I mean, I would bet everything that Trump offed Epstein at this point. You know, I would bet everything that multiple of these so-called assassination attempts were not real.
Here's what they're saying. This will someday save Washington. Drone port. The drone port at the White House will be perhaps the most sophisticated anywhere in the world. Drone ports. Drone ports. I mean, constant posts about drone ports. And then, remember what Donald Trump said when he was standing in front of the White House. If it will be drone proof. If a drone hits it, it bounces off. And it has a drone port. Here's what he said.
For military, they're very high. They're higher than just about anything else. They have a 360-degree vision of Washington, D.C.
Really great audio they got here. This is a great place to do a fucking press conference, you fat pedophile idiot.
They have a massive drone capacity. Not only is it drone-proof, if a drone hits it, it bounces off. It won't have any impact.
We need to protect ourselves from the drones that are coming for us. Cut to, oh, there was a drone swarm that was going to attack when he was at the UFC. Oh, my God.
As a drone port, it protects all of Washington, the roof of the building. Okay?
And here's what Donald Trump said to his daughter-in-law, Lara Trump, when she interviewed him, so you can see for yourself also. Let's play it.
This will be the kitchen floor.
The kitchen, and then the floor above, there'll be one above that.
And then you have the drone ports, and you have the sniper ports, and you have everything.
Wow.
It's all one unified unit. Yeah, it's really,
we can't wait to see.
It's going to be great. I love to watch it.
This is the same guy who's like, I don't think at all about Americans' financial situation. This is the same guy who's like, we can't do daycare. We can't do Medicare and Medicaid and these things. We got a war going on. Can't do that. Who could support this guy at this point?
And remember what Donald Trump's been saying about the ballroom, that no government dollars would fund it. This is what he said in April.
For survival with all of the lunatics I had to beat. But it worked out, obviously, it worked out very well because here we are. But I always said I was going to do something about the ballroom because they should have one. So we'll be leaving it. It'll be a great legacy project.
By the way, I like Bryson DeChambeau, the golfer, and Triple H, the wrestler, behind him. Yeah, not dystopian and weird at all. Total fucking idiocracy, President Camacho shit.
I think it'll be special. You saw some renderings of the initial. I think it'll be really beautiful.
No government dollars.
No government dollars, no.
This is what he said in May, that the ballroom
lion ass
is all being funded by money and donors' money. Let's play it.
This is all my money and donors' money. This is tax-free. Whoever we're talking about, they're going to give money. They're going to give money. The money they're going to give is really for the...
And here's what he said in March. Let's play it.
We didn't ask for any tax money. We have no tax. This is taxpayer-free. We have no taxpayer putting up...
By the way, let's be clear. Even if it was tax money free, which it's not, but even if it was, it would still be bad because it's obvious pay-to-play corruption with the Epstein-class billionaires. It's a bunch of elites giving money for his pet project. So Trump turns around and gives them no-bid contracts and gives them subsidies and gives them tax cuts and gives them more power, gives them the ability to skirt regulations, all that shit. Jesus Christ, man. By the way, let me give you some more here. Breaking on MS Now, Secret Service officials are angry that Kash Patel prematurely announced the details of an ongoing FBI investigation into a plot to attack the UFC fight at the White House, according to 3 people familiar with the incident. I would also like to know for the record, assuming this is all real and up to par, are there guns that you seized? Are there bombs that you seized? Are there the drones that you mentioned? Did you seize those? Were people actually there and coordinating at the moment? Like, this could all be like they have something, but none of it actually materialized. None of it came to fruition because it's a bunch of people fucking around and talking shit in a group chat, right? Like they're being very obtuse about this. And it's very clear that we're not getting the entire story. Okay. Tommy Veter shows here. The problem with Patel's social media announcement, the sources say, was the case had been sealed in court and roughly 10 suspects had not yet been arrested and placed in custody at the time Patel made his public social media post. So again, either he's a massive incompetent idiot, which is very possible, or this thing is not what they're making it out to be. It's just not. Okay. Alleged White House UFC event plotter Daniel Eskridge reposted lots of pro-Trump and anti-democratic content on his TikTok page. And you can see all of that right here. This is the Daniel Eskridge guy. Also, alleged White House UFC plotter Daniel Eskridge reposted this meme on TikTok about leaving MAGA in 2025. Eskridge appears to be another disaffected Trump voter. My politics in 2016, make America great again. My politics in 2025. And then it's got, I guess that's like a video there. What a shock. This seems to happen over and over and over. That the ones who are actually deranged enough to try something, again, assuming it's all real, weirdly, they were pro-Trump not that long ago. And then also, New York Post had an article about the UFC 250 terrorism plot that claimed Michael Allen Thomas's beliefs were, quote, difficult to categorize. He's a fascist anti-Semite who thinks Jewish elites eat babies. I get you want to pin everything on the Democrats, but this is not some never-before-seen special snowflake ideology. Goddamn. And then we also have this. Katie Britt blames Biden for the alleged terror plot at the White House UFC event. And of course, you have Greg Gutfeld, the absolute dipshit. So Jessica Tarlov says to him, Melissa Hartman, who was killed by a right-winger, the people shooting up Walmart, Caesar Sayoc, she also brings up right-wing terrorist. And Gutfeld says, do it side by side, it's one way. In other words, only left-wingers do terrorism, not right-wingers, which is exactly the opposite of what the data shows. Jessica says, Trump calling people vermin and scum, calling people traitors, and Gutfeld says, you're comparing that to a repetitive rhetoric that's been going on for 10 years where people are called Nazis. Save it. He's saying, number one, the terror plot is real. Number two, he blames any Democrat who goes after Republicans aggressively and goes after Trump aggressively and says they're fascists, says they're Nazis, says their policies are fucking backwards and they're authoritarian and stuff. So you're not allowed to criticize and make accurate comparisons because maybe somebody didn't attack or didn't do an attack or try to do an attack. And also that person was MAGA like 7 minutes ago. Fucking spare me. We're not doing this anymore. This like, oh, you lefties with your heated rhetoric. Motherfucker, you must be out of your damn mind or you must have been living under a rock because Donald Trump has referred to Democrats as the enemy within, scum, terrorists, vermin, radical, lunatics, demonic, evil, fascist, Marxist, communist, garbage, the enemy of the people, treasonous, animals, degenerates, Jew haters, lowlives. He's called us everything under the sun. And by the way, he's been fucking wrong about all of it. The shit we say about you guys is true. But at the end of the day, it's all a moot point anyway, because I'm skeptical as hell about what they're telling us here. I think best case scenario for them, it was a bunch of idiots talking shit in a group chat and nothing was going to come of it. And they decided to make a mountain out of a molehill and act like it was some high-level 007 plot to assassinate Trump using drones, which of course helps build the argument for his shitty fucking ballroom, or so they think.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So I guess J.D. Vance is the one who's tasked with going around and defending this memorandum of understanding that the U.S. and Iran did together. And, basically like now he's the face of this particular Trump policy. But if/when it falls apart, he'll also get the blame. Right? I mean, there's been a lot of discussion about Trump wanting to sort of get rid of J.D. Vance, but obviously not being able to. They're they're sort of trying to shiv him, and it's because he's been leaking stuff from behind the scenes that makes himself look good and makes others in the regime look bad. So there's a lot of like backroom office politics going on here. But in the process of trying to sell this policy and his fucking shitty book, which is also good evidence he wants to run in 2028, by the way, but he goes on The View. And The View hands him his big ass on a silver platter. Okay, so let's watch some of this and we'll break it down as we go here. Let's get it.
We're going to make our pitch to the voters in November, and they're the ones who get to decide whether we've done a good job or not, and that's how they're going to vote.
Okay. So President Trump has called affordability a hoax. He said that, not me. He's pouring money into this ballroom of his and the reflecting pool. Oh, don't forget the Arch de Trumpe, I call it, and a White House cage match. All these things. Why is he doing them when you just, everybody knows that Americans are struggling? What is he spending all this money for?
Well, I got to defend the president on the hoax point. What the president said is the idea that Republicans caused the affordability problem is a hoax. And I think that's true. If you go back to the
Slurp City, baby. Slurp City. Even with Trump shivving him in the side repeatedly, he's still cucking himself to his dear leader.
Inflation got up to 9% under the Biden administration, okay?
And then what happened, bro? Oh, that's right. It came down. And then you guys waged an illegal and offensive war of aggression against Iran and did a bunch of fucking dumbass tariffs, and that skyrocketed inflation again. It had to come all the way back down, and y'all fucked it up.
0.5%. By the way, too high. We're doing everything that we can to bring it back down to 2.5%, which is where most people would like to see it. But we inherited an affordability problem. We're doing a lot to make it better. It's going to take a little bit of time. There's a lot more work to do. But the president knows that a lot of Americans are struggling. In fact, he ran on that. He talked about it, and we've done some things and made some good progress on that point.
He just said he loves the inflation.
What he said, Anna, what he said is that he loves the fact that the inflation is going to come down when this war is over. That's
this guy. He thinks he's like the fucking Trump whisperer. No, you're the Trump ass coverer. That's what you're doing. Oh, by the way, look at the eyeliner. Oh my days. And this guy's anti-gay and this guy's anti-trans. When there's a picture of him out there dressed like a woman, the failed drag queen, J.D. Vance, the smoky-eyed sociopath, J.D. Vance, as Jennifer Welch likes to call him. What is this? What is this? But, oh, God, he's so dishonest, bro. By the way, what you're going to notice here is The View does a better job than CNN. The View does a better job than most media outlets, because at least they're trying to hold him accountable. He tries to get away with the inflation thing, and Anna Navarro says, no, Trump said, I love the inflation. That's a direct quote.
That's what he said.
That's not what he said. That wasn't a direct quote. Are you his interpreter or are you his vice president?
Yeah, and also, here's the thing, guys. Trump has gone from a low-filter guy to a no-filter guy, as I've told you guys 1,000 times, because his brain is not working anymore. He's has dementia or Alzheimer's or something. And so because of that, he now tells the truth by accident. And so this is why he said, like, I don't think about Americans' financial situation at all. It's because he can't reel himself in at all anymore. That's where that comes from. That's what that is, right? In the same way, he said, we can't afford daycare, we can't afford Medicare and Medicaid and all these things because we have a war going on. This is stuff that he would have been smart enough in the first term to not say. But now he's just gifting his political opponents over and over by saying things like, I love the inflation, because he doesn't have the ability to reel it in. But he still has this little fucking pissant, kiss-ass, pudgy-ass, Ozempic-taking bitch who's out there still trying to cover his tracks, still trying to say that his farts smell like cologne.
Well, look, I what the president said, people were asking about the inflation. They were asking about the affordability problem, which again is very real. And what he said is, I love the inflation because it's going to come down when the war is over. And now, again, we already see gas prices today, $4.06 a gallon, too high, but way down from where they were just a couple of weeks ago. So there's a lot we got to do, but I think that we're doing as much as we can. We're going to keep on working at it. And again, the American people are going to make their verdict, but I think that we have a very credible case to run on, that we brought a lot of new investment. We're building the factories. That is going to pay serious dividends for the American people over the long haul.
When?
Well, Joy, if you look at manufacturing jobs,
okay,
those jobs are increasing at a large number.
That's a total fucking lie. It's the opposite. It's the opposite. We lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs in Trump's first term because of his policies, even though he ran as the anti-outsourcing guy. And now in the second term, he killed a bunch of pieces of legislation that Biden signed, which would have created 800,000 manufacturing jobs in this country. It's just not true. The opposite is true. We've been losing manufacturing jobs.
Construction jobs are doing a little bit better. So what happens is the construction jobs to build the factories, and then the manufacturing workers go back to work. That also leads to rising wages. That's one of the things that I'm very proud of, is if you look at the amount that wages are going up now compared to, say, 2022, they're going up way faster. That's a good thing. The affordability problem. Again, gas.
This is such fucking horseshit. This is such horseshit. maybe like the top 1% and their income pulls up the average, but your average person is 60% of people are still living fucking paycheck to paycheck. Can't afford a $400 emergency.
Way too high right now. Certain things way too high. You know, rents have been either flat or down for 12 months now. So there are things that are showing signs of life, things that are showing signs of progress. My view, I'm sure you guys don't agree with it, is that we inherited a mess and we're fixing it. But sometimes it takes a long time to fix a mess.
The reason why this is not going to land with like literally anybody these days is because you waged an illegal war of aggression against Iran for no reason. That shut the Strait of Hormuz, which means gas goes up, grocery prices go up, everything goes up. Also, your stupid fucking trade war, prices of everything goes up because of that, alienating us from the rest of the world. Like, nobody's going to say, like, nobody. In fact, they did a poll on this, and even a bunch of Republicans did not blame Biden for the current state of the economy. Because even a bunch of Republicans can see, oh, Trump's doing a lot of shit. And when you do a lot of shit, your policies then own the economy. Like the big bullshit bill where they kicked 18 million people off Medicaid. That wasn't Biden that did that. You motherfuckers did that.
Mr. Vice President, according to a new report from the New York Times, you were the leading voice behind the scenes to release the Epstein files, and we applaud you for that. And you warned top officials, including top DOJ officials, at strategy meetings taking place inside the Situation Room. We understand that there are tapes of those meetings, that this was a huge problem for the base. The report says you even floated having Tucker Carlson interview Ghislaine Maxwell to clear the president's name, but you were rebuffed by your people. Why?
Well, I'd say, first of all, don't believe everything that you read in any newspaper, whether it's a right-leaning paper or a left-leaning paper, because as you guys know, well, there are things that are true, things that are false, and things that are totally missing context. Well,
it's literally all of it is completely true.
Here's what I'll say. So, number one, I am, frankly, kind of a conspiracy theory on the Epstein stuff. And that story says that that's one of the things that's true, is that some people called me a conspiracy theory on the Epstein stuff. And I love Susie, but absolutely, she thinks I'm a conspiracy theorist on the Epstein stuff because I think that it's crazy that you had this guy who is clearly a sex predator who was hanging out with a lot of very wealthy and powerful people like that.
And now you work for his best friend. Now you work for somebody who was also partaking in the child sex trafficking ring, who was very likely a co-conspirator. That's your boss now. As you correctly deduce that, oh, hold on, the Jeffrey Epstein thing is kind of crazy. It seems like there's some there. It seems like that this is actually like a cabal of billionaire pedophile elites who have a child sex trafficking ring.
That really bothered me. I don't know what's there, of course. Nobody knows exactly what happened unless you were there, but that really bothered me, and I wanted to have full transparency. What I disagree with is the idea that the White House wasn't committed to full transparency. We have to remember, like, I was inside the room when some of these decisions were made.
Is he actually arguing that Trump all along was for full transparency? At this point, this man is just waging an all-out nuclear war on logic, reason, empiricism, factual analysis. Like, everybody knows Trump tried everything he possibly could to block the release of the Epstein files before being forced to cave.
The Epstein Files Transparency Act, the one that the president signed, the one that led to all these files that we're seeing, the emails. By the way, again, sorry, do I have to defend my boss? I know you guys don't always appreciate this, but, you know, one of the things you see in the Epstein emails is that Jeffrey Epstein hated Donald Trump.
Oh, no! Oh, no! Oh, what a shameless lie! Oh, he acts like we were all born yesterday, bro. JD, there is literal audio tape of Jeffrey Epstein himself saying he was Trump's best friend for over a decade. We now know Trump was on his plane at least 8 times and that he went to the island and took his daughter Tiffany with him. We know that the first time Trump and Melania had sex was allegedly on the pedophile's plane, the Lolita Express. We know so much. We know the fucking, fawning letter of adoration for his birthday where he drew a prepubescent girl, Epstein being at Mar-a-Lago with the big check of they're buying a depreciated asset, which was a girl. Jesus fucking Christ. Are you kidding me? How dare you? Oh yeah, they were total enemies. Trump totally hated him. Get the fuck out of here.
And that Donald Trump literally reported Jeffrey Epstein to the police. That's one of the things that came out of these files.
They were best friends for about a decade. And remember, he signed that Transparency Act under duress when some Republican women, congresswomen like Lauren Boebert, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, did not give in to his pressure.
Yes, and ask Trump what he thinks of them now. Ask Trump what he thinks of Marjorie Taylor Greene. Ask Trump what he thinks of Lauren Boebert and Thomas Massie and all of the people who actually stood up and said, no, I think we should release this and I think we should actually arrest the pedophiles.
Of not signing. He brought Lauren Boebert into the Situation Room to pressure her into caving on not voting for that bill.
Bro, you're getting bodied by Ana Navarro right now. You're getting bodied.
So let me respond to that.
That's all true.
Let me respond to that. So number one is, yes, Donald Trump, he said this. He knew Jeffrey Epstein back in the 1980s. He also threw Jeffrey Epstein out of his club when he found out he was a creep and reported him to the police.
Mar-a-Lago was subpoenaed during the Ghislaine Maxwell investigation because it was viewed as the hub of the child sex trafficking. The idea like, oh, you know, he really stood up to him. To the extent there was any breakup whatsoever, which is questionable at this point, but to the extent there was, it was over a fucking real estate deal where Trump rat-fucked Epstein by buying a property out from underneath him. This had nothing to do with the actual crimes he was committing. Trump partook in those crimes. Who are we kidding? Listen to the Katie Johnson story. Trump raped a 13-year-old. Oh, my days.
That's something that the media often misses when it reports this story. They tell the fact that they knew each other in the 80s, which the president himself admits. They ignore the fact that he narked on him to the police and led ultimately to Jeffrey Epstein's downfall. To that point, Anna, you know the Republican Party... Well, it's one of the things that led to law enforcement investigation. But on the point that you made...
It was allegedly over a real estate deal that they got into a fight over.
Shout out to Anna, man. She actually knows exactly what she's doing here. She knows more about this than he does. She knows he's trying to lie, and she's dissecting all of it.
But the email says actually
they didn't just know each other. Let's just be truthful and transparent here. They didn't just know each other. They were incredibly close friends.
He reported him to the police. That's what I'm saying. That is objective. That is objectively true. But Anna made another point that I think I would be if I may. Because Anna made a very important point. This question about did Donald Trump release these files only under duress from Republicans? And Anna, you know the Republican Party probably better than I do. The idea that Donald Trump runs around afraid of Republican congressmen as opposed to the other way around is kind of crazy.
Oh, my days. Oh, no. He's actually trying to act like, no, literally all along Trump wanted to release the Epstein files. There wasn't a single moment where he didn't want to release the Epstein files. Again, you act like we were born yesterday. Dude, we're not idiots. We all saw it. Trump literally had people kicked out of the party because they did the right thing on the Epstein files. Like, there's all these tweets of him being like, oh, my former supporters who can't get over this, they need to shut the fuck up. He's out there saying shit like this. And it's because he knew he was all over them bitches. By the way, here's a fact for J.D. Vance. When we released just the first 1% of the Epstein files, he was mentioned 38,000 times. Then when they release now, it's about 50% of the Epstein files. He's in there 1 million times more than anybody else, okay? Like, the reason he was flipping out is because there's so much shit in there on him. In fact, J.D. Vance himself was flipping out in the Situation Room because when they created a searchable database, the first thing that comes up when you type Trump into the Epstein files is his nipple torture kink. And here he is acting like, who, my boss? My boss is a Boy Scout. Gosh golly.
Because the Republicans control the House and the Senate, particularly the Senate, you need the Republican sign-off. What the president did is, look, I will say this. Again, I was in there in the meetings. He was very frustrated that the Democrats were making this about him when he's like, look, I threw the guy out of my club. I am the guy who reported him to the police, or one of the people who reported him to the police. The president was frustrated about that, absolutely. But he eventually came to say, you know what? Let's just get everything out there. Let's have this out in the public. And he actually called the senators. I was there. He called the senators and said, you know what? Pass this bill. I'll sign it. And that was it.
When they started releasing parts of the Epstein files, there would be, like, stuff would be released, and the next day they would pull stuff down. Why? Because when they released stuff, there was a bunch of damning stuff on Trump. Trump would catch wind that stuff about him came out there, and then he would demand that the FBI and Kash Patel take that bitch down. It happened with one particular picture where we saw that in Epstein's New York home, he had a drawer that was just packed full of Trump documents and Trump pictures, Trump and Melania. And you could see it when you zoom in. And everybody talked about, oh my God, look, Epstein has a drawer specifically with all the Trump shit in it. Then the next day they pulled that bitch down. So please spare me with this, like, oh yeah, no, totally, bro, he's got nothing to hide. What are you talking about, bro? They are literally hiding they're still hiding a bunch of stuff involving him. They still are.
Let me follow up briefly. Let me follow up briefly.
Yes.
It sounds like you believed that there would be men in the files who would be held accountable. Rightfully so. And the American people are with you on this. Why haven't we seen the release of over 2.5 million additional Epstein file documents?
Because his boss is a war criminal, pedophile, rapist, con man who was a co-conspirator in a child sex trafficking ring. That's the answer. Let's see if he says that.
It seems like you are someone that is on the right side of history on this.
So we've released, I think it's 6 million files or 6 million pages of documents. My understanding is the 2.5 million, Sonny. I'm going to check on this to make sure, but my understanding is that a lot of those are duplicates of things that have already been released.
So
oh yeah, I'm sure, buddy.
We're not holding anything back. Some of those things are like
what they did is the definition of a limited hangout. It's like, we'll give you a little bit, and hopefully you don't dig any deeper and see, like, we're hiding the worst stuff. There was stuff in those Epstein files, you know this, that was, like, it got really dark. Like, fucking cannibalism type shit. Like, weird rituals. There's some CEO whose kink was, like, biting underage girls. Like, Jeffrey Epstein getting the vat of sulfuric acid and having a trap door underneath, the mansion of his island, which went right to the water. Like, There's a lot of stuff they're fucking hiding, bro. Like, for example, some of the FBI intake forms had just insane allegations of, like, Trump with his riverboat casino, and they used it to, like, dispose of bodies of underage girls that they did stuff with, and that girl Dusty in Oklahoma who was found shot in the head, and there were allegations that she made against Trump, and the cops thought it wasn't a suicide. Like, this is the shit, right? That we're not getting the full answer. We're only getting a taste of what's out there, and they tried to hide the worst stuff.
Courts have to order you to release them. So that was one thing that we confronted. You talk about these situations or meetings is, there's a big bunch of files that existed, I think, in the Southern District of New York, or maybe it was some other jurisdiction. But we were like, we want to release these files, but you need the court approval in order to release the files. Sometimes we would apply to release the files, and the courts would say no.
He's such a politician. He's such a smooth and shameless liar.
So those particular documents, I would need to actually know exactly what you're talking about.
3.5 million documents were released, and my understanding is 2.5 million have not been.
Those may have been the ones that are under court. I don't know what the documents you're talking about, but I'm telling you,
let me go to break. Let me go to break.
Sure.
Let me go to break. Because people are looking at me. Going.
And let's talk about the book. I'm here to sell books. Communion. Buy my book, please.
Eventually we will, but this is a good opportunity for us to get some clarity on stuff.
In your new book, Communion, you write about your personal evolution with faith from evangelical to atheist to Catholic convert. And you also explain your evolution similarly on Trump, from calling him America's Hitler to America's best hope.
I don't know about you guys, but it doesn't often happen that somebody who I referred to as Hitler then becomes like, he's actually the best person I know.
As someone who has admitted to chasing ambition, which you write about in the book, in the past, but now says your faith brought you back
He was chasing ambition in the past. Now that he's vice president, he has no more ambition, bro.
Priorities. I have to kind of use your own words that sit with me from 2016.
Sure.
Fellow Christians, everyone is watching when we apologize for this man. Lord help us. And I think about that all the time, because as a fellow Christian, that is something that weighs on my heart as I watch this country and the leadership at the top, because it's also something I have to explain to my kids, which I know we also share, this idea that our greatest privilege and responsibility are these young people we're raising.
Of course.
So help me find the words to explain to my children what they're witnessing right now.
Well, first of all, it's been well covered that I was a critic of Donald Trump back in 2015 and 2016. Now, obviously, I'm sitting here as the Vice President of the United States in the Trump administration. Well, Joy,
he sold out.
A little humility, actually. I think that when you make predictions and those predictions turn out to be false, you got to ask yourself, well, what made me wrong about that? What did I not understand or not appreciate? For example, I said that Donald Trump's economic policies would not lead to wage growth. They did in the first term. That was actually a major thing.
Oh, I can't.
I said that we couldn't bring back any of those factory jobs because I kind of had given into this idea that those jobs were disappearing. But actually, Donald Trump, you saw a manufacturing boom.
I know.
No, you didn't. Oh, my God.
So there's a certain point. Let me just so there's a certain point where you say, I made predictions about this. I ended up being wrong. Yeah. And in politics and anything, I think it's important to just say, you know what? I got some things wrong, and I was wrong about him. He was a very successful president. It's one of the reasons why I've been so supportive of him.
You go on in the book to explain that good policy was maybe one of your justifications, but the quote, and when you tweeted that or X'd it, was not about policy. It was what Christians were willing to excuse. And that's the part I can't get past. What are you willing to excuse in the name of power?
So, in other words, what she's saying is like, look, policy aside, which I don't even think you should put policy aside in this conversation for the record, but you're looking at a guy who literally is the embodiment of the Antichrist. Like, in other words, whatever Jesus represents, whatever characteristics make up Jesus, the person, Trump is the opposite of that. Trump is somebody who's incredibly greedy and selfish and narcissistic. He's a liar. He's a cheater. Every negative thing you can think of suits Trump. He's not, you would never want to leave your kids alone with him for a number of reasons. You would also, wouldn't want to have a beer with him. He clearly is incredibly vain and he's engaged in corruption and self-dealing and all of this stuff. And when you look at the personal qualities, the philandering, for example, like, I understand that, a lot of these fundamentalist evangelical Christians, they love all the horrible Trump policies, but there's no way to work around the philandering and being like the New York City playboy. Like, that's all the stuff that you guys said you cared about the most, the family values stuff. And now you're fighting for a war criminal, pedophile, rapist, con man. Like, that's got to matter, right? Multiple fucking affairs, over 20 different allegations of sexual assault and rape and things of that nature. That's the point she's getting at. But go a little deeper. If he really is talking about Catholicism and his faith and Jesus and all this stuff, like, I'm sorry, you cannot then turn around and support a guy who's ripping up the Constitution right in front of our eyes, who's building concentration camps and putting immigrants in them, who's refusing to hold the Epstein pedophiles accountable, who is an Epstein-class pedophile. You can't look past the carpet bombing of a girls' school in Iran and the bombing of fishing boats in the Caribbean and the Pacific. And like, so it does tie into his personal characteristics and the policy. It makes no sense to be where he is given those things, which is why the book is bullshit. It's all self-aggrandizing, self-suck-off session bullshit where he's just trying to, like, you know, do the thing everybody does before they run for president. Oh, I got a book, which nobody's going to fucking read, nobody cares about, but it's going to be the thing which shows, oh yeah, I'm running in 2028.
I would say fundamentally that one of the things I underappreciated about Donald Trump is that so many of the things that people said about him weren't actually true. Again, you talk about humility. Okay, so I see Donald Trump, I see a clip of him, or I see not even a clip of him, but reporting about something that he said, and I take it at face value. For example, let's just go back to one of the most controversial things Donald Trump said during the first term that I was wrong during the first campaign, is that I was led to believe by the stories. I read stories that said Donald Trump said that all Mexicans were rapists. He never said that.
The Mexicans, the immigrants, they come in this country, they're criminals, they're rapists. I assume some are good people. That's what he said. So he flipped it. Most people would say, oh yeah, most immigrants that come to this country are good people, a small amount are criminals or rapists or whatever. He flipped it. He made it seem like most are criminals, there's only a few good people. That's what he did. That's what he said, and he's defending this. Meanwhile, the Bible, by the way, is super pro-immigrant, and he's acting like, nope, I'm still a Bible-believing guy, but Trump's right, calling all these innocent people criminals and rapists.
What he said is that the certain South American countries, Central American countries, were releasing criminals into our country, including Mexico. By the way, that was objectively true. So it's not so much Christians.
Fidel Castro did that in 1980 with the Mariel boat lift. There have been many, many journalists, including CNN, where you used to work and be my colleague, that have tried to find evidence of that. There is no evidence that Maduro was releasing people from insane asylums or jails like Fidel Castro did do. This was made up, and we just can't, accept it without pushing back.
Anna, we know.
Damn, Anna's freaking it today.
Know that there were people who were released from prisons who were encouraged to come into the United States.
It wasn't like it was in the Mariel, Mr. Vice President. It wasn't where it was like a purposeful, really open.
Yeah, Trump still believes at this late date that when somebody's looking for asylum, that they were released from an insane asylum in another country. He literally believes that. He has the brain of a toddler.
Open up the jails, open up the insane asylums, and let people flood Florida. I lived through that in Miami.
If you go, it may not have been like Mariel, but if you go back to the caravans that were happening in 22, 23.
The caravans were totally fake. The whole thing was a fake bullshit thing to try to gin up support for Republicans before elections.
We know that those things were funded. They were in some ways supported by the government.
There was absolutely
so I don't know how you define support or not support, but if people are encouraged to come into our country after having spent time in prison by their own governments, I think that's a problem.
Vice President.
Why would South American governments fund bus rides to the U.S. for their own citizens? Like, this is all... Everything they think is an actual problem is totally fake, and then you have real problems like climate change, and they say that's fake. I can't with these people.
Can I just add one more thing? Because you do speak about immigration at length in this book.
Sure.
And I believe, as a Christian, I can tell my kids why it's important to have borders. I get that. There are laws, there are resources, I get all that things. It's much harder to explain when I see someone dragged out of a house or wrongly taken to a thing that isn't a violent criminal. It's a little more nuanced as a
95% of them are not violent criminals, by the way.
Parent to try to say when someone's referred to as vermin or scum, when I teach them in school about people that have done that before, but this is different. It's very hard as a parent and a Christian to say both things.
And you actually say in the book, you talk about this. You talk about this struggle, this internal struggle in the book, and you talk about moral trade-offs that result in favoring a strict migration policy without dehumanizing anyone. But listen, over 50 people have died in ICE custody. There are thousands of children, 6,200, that are being held in places like Dilley Detention Center.
Over 4,000 people are missing. This is crazy. They ripped up the Constitution. No due process. Tear gassing babies. Tear gassing journalists. These are criminals.
The people that have visited those detention centers, I don't know if you have, talk about the subhuman, infrahuman conditions, the lack of clean water, the lack of medical attention, the lack of education. I would
Bro, The View is busting his ass right now.
Urge you as a Christian and as a father to visit those detention centers where the children are being held and make sure that the conditions...
We just covered on the show the other day, over 100,000 kids have been separated from their parents. 100,000. Why can't all the media act like this when they're sitting across from this fucking sociopath?
Up to the values that we hold in this country.
So you guys have thrown a lot at me, and I see we got 30 seconds left here. But let me say,
You're
number
the Vice
one,
President. You can go long.
I'd like to pick up on this theme because I think it's really important. We do have to strike a balance, of course, between enforcing our laws. We don't want to dehumanize people. That is the balance that, look, law enforcement, what I'd say about this, law enforcement is always inherently not a very pretty process, especially when you're dealing sometimes with violent people, with people who are resisting arrest. Some of the people that I've been told by the media were completely peaceful, had never violated any laws. You actually look into the record and you find out that those people were actually being violent, or they...
But they keep statistics on this, you lying cunt, bro. 95% of the people that you're sending ICE after and arresting and ruining their lives are not violent criminals.
Did have a criminal record. They had a sex traffic conviction.
Don't have criminal records. The majority of people that ICE is rounding up and taking out of their homes from their families, they're separating families. They're using children as bait. The majority are not criminals.
But can I respond to that? Let me just say this. Okay.
No, you shouldn't actually be able to respond to this because you're wrong. This is an empirical question. There's an actual number out there. There's data out there, and you're trying to say the data's not true.
So you talk about the children. Here's what I'd say. Do we know that during the last administration, we had tens of thousands of children who were sex trafficked by the cartels, who were brought into our country in profoundly dangerous...
ICE has been involved in sex trafficking. Literally, we just covered it. ICE is involved in sex trafficking. And here he is acting like, oh, we're doing all our ICE crackdown to make sure that there's no sex trafficking. You guys haven't even arrested a single Epstein criminal. And you're going to tell me you're cracking down on sex trafficking? Stephen Miller literally was disbanding agencies that were to go after cartels and human traffickers and all that. And he said, fuck that, get into the Home Depot parking lot and go harass Jose, who's trying to be a day laborer. Like, everything he says is totally full of shit. I don't even know why anybody should interview him at this point.
And predatory conditions.
Let's talk about this administration.
But here's the point. Unless you enforce the border, you invite that kind of conduct. You think that our immigration policies are inhumane based on the reporting of one person with a political bias. What I'm telling you is that it's inhumane to allow cartels to sex traffic people across our border.
And by the way,
this regime is objectively pro-sex trafficking, period.
Please hold on.
I appreciate that.
Hold
I'm going
on.
to get you back in it.
We're coming back with more with the Vice President, and I've got questions for you.
Great, thank you.
I think he has a humiliation kink at this point.
You come from a poor community.
Sure.
You know how hard it has been for people. Two things. You talk a lot about your Catholic faith, but the Catholic faith says we take in immigrants. We take in people who don't have or who are having a hard time. How do you justify both things?
So let me say first a couple things, Whoopi. So number one, the book is actually way less political than you might think if you were just watching this, because obviously we're getting into the issues of the day. Right. 95% of the book is really not about politics. I kind of have to write about politics because I'm the vice president, but I want to answer your question. Right. So fundamentally, if you think about what is immigration enforcement, immigration is law enforcement. It's somebody who has broken a law. A law enforcement officer has to show up and enforce that law. Mm-hmm. Now, inherently, sometimes that process is not always going to be pretty if you capture a video clip of it, in the same way that if you arrest somebody for committing a violent or a nonviolent crime, sometimes it's not always pretty. What I'm saying...
It's not pretty when you shove people in concentration camps and take away their constitutional rights and break up their families and ruin their lives and steal their shit and murder them in broad daylight and not arrest a murderer. It's not pretty sometimes when you got to do what you got to do.
The Catholic faith is actually very... I think it strikes the right balance here. Mm-hmm. It says, the Christian faith, I think this is true of Protestants and Catholics, that you can have borders. Yeah. You're allowed to enforce your borders. That means the law enforcement piece of it. But you also have to take certain precautions and certain care, okay? And again, your argument is fundamentally, Whoopi, you're saying that we don't strike the right balance. I disagree with you about how we apply that, but nobody, hopefully, is saying we're not allowed to have a border.
No,
what I'm saying...
Oh, my God, I fucking hate it. I hate how the right, since they're incapable of engaging honestly, it's just, let's straw man the other side endlessly. Like, the Democrats and Joe Biden, who actually deported more people than Trump did in his first term, somehow they're for open borders and they're crazy. That's why we need to implement fascism. It's like, no, stop arguing against a straw man all the time. They can never just be honest in their engagement.
Saying is that in order for us to actually enforce the law, you can't set a standard that says you're not allowed to deport anyone unless they've committed a violent crime. You've got to enforce...
No, you can and should say that. Don't deport anyone unless they're a violent criminal. Yes, that's what most people want. Yes.
The law equally.
So let me do my follow-up.
You don't have to raise your hand.
Let me do my follow-up.
Yes, I do.
Because you were talking about people. What did black people do to this administration that has allowed it to really stigmatize folks of color? And you know how hard it is you have folks of color in your family.
Sure.
So when you see, things, the Emmett Till stuff coming down, or them doing all kinds of removal of information of Black heroes, how does that sit with you?
Well, what exactly are you talking about, Whoopi? Because you just, I know.
Oh no. Oh, he's pretending like he doesn't know. Oh my days. Bro, there's been detailed reporting on this and he knows it. He's lying. He's lying. He's playing stupid on purpose. But he knows they've destroyed Black history. They've destroyed the curriculums. They've lied about U.S. history. They've gone into the museums and taken certain things down. This is well covered. But he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. The Supreme Court, the MAGA Supreme Court, just stripped away Black voting rights in the South, right? Like, they're allowing the Republicans to gerrymander, not allowing Democrats to counter gerrymander. We all see this. We all know what's going on.
I can tell you all this. Yeah.
No, I want to know what she's...
You don't know.
The audience audibly groaned there because they're like, really? You're going to pretend like you don't know this?
On to your actual point.
So in a lot of the... museums, there's so many. Where they're taking down the actual history that happened in this country.
They also literally fired a bunch of top-level military officials who were due to get promotions. They fired them because they're people of color, and they fear that those people are more likely to blow the whistle on their war crimes and their criminality. And you know what? They're probably right about that. But that's why you should have those people in those positions to prevent us from becoming as fucking evil as we have been.
Happened. All kinds of stuff happened. And it seems that it has been very easy for this administration to remove that and also to denigrate Black folks who have worked their behinds off to get this American dream. How do you, you know better.
So Sonny, that was actually a very helpful intervention, because I think the story you're talking about is where, allegedly the administration is holding back the appointments of people based on skin color.
I'm talking about a host of things. I'm talking about Black history getting erased from public spaces. Black voter districts are being dismantled. Black leaders are being sidelined from our ranks. Where do Americans of color fit in this vision? Because it doesn't seem like we fit.
I think, Sonny, my view...
And if I may, since October of last year, there's been something like 6,668 refugees allowed into the country. All but 3 were white South Africans.
That's right. Oh, my Lord. I forgot about that. They let in thousands of refugees. They're all like fat, landowning, South African racist pricks. Oh, my. Oh, us? Me, bro? Racist? Bigoted? I don't even know what you're talking about, bro. Like, come on, man. It's so obvious.
So, first of all, I'm very skeptical of that number, because we have a lot of different...
It's been reported, bro. It's been reported. You could just lie about it, but it's been reported.
Immigration pathways in the United States of America. But let me just address Whoopi's...
They didn't say immigration. They said refugees.
Look, first of all, you asked the question, and maybe you don't believe this coming from me, but I think everybody is welcome in our political coalition. Frankly, even if you didn't vote for us, everybody is welcome in our country, so long as you're an American citizen with the duties and the legal obligations and rights to be here. But
okay, all right, hold on. We're gonna wrap it up on this note real quick. But he's a... Who, me? Us, bro? No. See, everybody's welcome in the Republican Party and MAGA in this country. Like, we're open to, like, all types of people, bro. We're open to, like, all types of people, bro. Oh, are you? Really? Here, let me go ahead and show you this. A Muslim Texan sought to find his place in the party at the state GOP convention. He left in tears. Muslim delegates and attendees hoping to participate in the state Republican convention were shunned and rejected by members as they espoused themes of party unity ahead of the November election. Huh? A Muslim Texan sought to find his place in the party at the state GOP convention, left in tears. Look at the picture, bro. Look at the motherfucking picture. Look at the picture. You have got to be... Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Everybody's welcome in this country. Everybody's welcome in this party. Everybody's welcome in MAGA, bro. I don't know what you're talking about. Muslim guy shows up to a Republican convention in Texas, and they quite literally go, we don't want your kind here. By the way, we need to be clear about what is happening in this photo. Rick Scarborough, the former Southern Baptist pastor, got on stage at the Texas Republican Convention and told state delegate Mohammed Hussein to convert to Christianity or leave the country. He was so upset that he cried. It was then and only then that Rick felt guilty. So he sat down and pretended to pray for him. The only evil we need to expel from this state are the people who don't believe in the constitutionally protected right of freedom of religion. So that's what this guy is. He's not the good guy, this guy here. He's the fucking bad guy. Okay? Now, by the way, let me also just say real quick, if you're a Muslim and you're trying to be part of the Republican Party, fucking stop it. What's wrong with you? Do you really hate gay people that much that you're like, I want to sign up with these other people who also hate gays, but also hate me? Like, fuck that. So, what were you, in a coma since 1992? You know this party fucking hates you. Grow the fuck up, right? Like, get away. But anyway, yeah, no, it's not that everybody's welcome. If people are brown, they're not fucking welcome. J.D. Vance knows he's been getting nonstop harassment from fucking Groyper Nick Fuentes acolytes for years now, and he's acting like everybody's welcome. No, the fuck they're not. Your wife isn't welcome. Your kids aren't welcome. So, spare me. But anyway, The View, phenomenal job. Just beat his ass into the ground.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So Kamala Harris went to an event this past week, and she decided to hit us with a big old fat "I told you so," and "I predicted this." She tries to play it humble, but you can, read between the lines a little bit here. So again, shout out to Midas Touch and Ben. They break this down for us. Let's listen. Here we go.
Wow, she's back. Former Vice President Kamala Harris just gave an incredible speech at the 10th Austrian World Summit. She's actually speaking with Arnold Schwarzenegger. She got a standing ovation. I want to show you what went down. Former Vice President Kamala Harris talked about the Trump regime being the most callous and corrupt regime in American history. Let's watch what she said.
But is essentially the most callous, corrupt, and incompetent
Did she lose weight? I think she lost weight.
Presidential administration America's ever experienced.
Now I want to show you the full portion of her comments right there. Very, very powerful. Let's play it.
Predicted just about everything that has happened with this administration.
You say I told you so?
I don't say I told you so. That's kind of obnoxious.
You can, and you should. Listen, Kamala, when we're talking about a Democratic primary, she is not the top of my list in terms of who I would vote for in 2028. Okay, she's not. Having said that, one thing she has absolutely earned the right to do is to say, "I told you so" about a lot of this shit, because she did. She gave a speech. It was outside. I forget where. It was at the Ellipse. Was it somewhere else? It was outside. She gave a speech, and she literally ran down the list. She was like, he's going to do this. He's going to do this. He's going to do this. He's going to do political persecution and go after his enemies. He's going to go to war. He's going to, went down the whole list, and she was right.
The reality is many of us predicted, and it didn't require much creative thought because he told us most of what we knew would happen, including that he would go after his political enemies using the Department of Justice. I am not surprised that he may be using the Department of Justice to go after a political enemy in the current governor of California. And this is why I do believe this, upon many other...
She definitely lost weight. She looks good. She lost a lot of weight.
...examples of what is essentially, you're going to ask me questions about the current president, I'm going to be candid, what is essentially the most callous, corrupt, and incompetent presidential administration America's ever experienced. And for that reason, I have no question or doubt that we will win the midterms, and it will be a result of people of every background and political association who will contribute to that outcome. I mentioned to one of the officials here, it's important, and I say this to all of my friends here who are not from the United States, please do know and recall that in the 2024 election, 1/3 of the electorate voted for the current president. 1/3 voted for us, 1/3 did not vote, which means 2/3 of the American electorate did not vote for this. And so when there are questions being raised among our friends around the world, who are the American people, I think it is important to know and remember that the American people do stand, the majority of us, for the alliances that we have formed over decades.
She's almost like desperately trying to save our international and global alliances here. And I just think that at this late date, it's over, dog. She's right. 2/3 of the country is against this, and we're not as insane as they are. But any other country is going to look around and go, okay, so let's say we have close ties during Democratic administrations. Well, what happens the next time a Republican gets in there? They're going to go right back to doing the same shit that they were doing before. They're going to put their middle finger up to the rest of the world, and we're going to be fucked. So the rest of the world is going to turn to China. That is what's going to happen. That's what they're doing. And it's a valiant effort here from Kamala, but I think even she knows deep down, the world is done with us. It's a wrap. It's also there's a little bit of an undertone here of please don't abandon the dollar, world. But I think we're on borrowed time for that shit too. At some point, they're going to abandon the dollar as the world reserve currency, and we are cooked, son.
Do stand for the importance of America being, the chancellor talked about this, reliable as a partner, being an authority among many on important issues, including this changing climate and what we must do to save this dear planet of ours, being an authority among many on important issues, including this changing climate and what we must do to save this dear planet of ours.
And more from former Vice President Kamala Harris as she talks about Donald Trump's disastrous, catastrophic, and unlawful war that no American wanted. She makes it very clear where she would stand on these issues. I want you to watch right here.
First off, if you were president, does that war even happen?
So are we going to have this conversation? I'm happy to.
Sure, yeah.
First of all, this is a war the American people did not want. This is a war of choice. This is a president who has proven himself to be entirely self-indulgent. And we will see what happens in the coming hours and days in terms of the negotiation, and really it's a concept of an agreement and where it ends up. But there is no question that there is a direct correlation between this war of choice and what has happened in terms of gas prices. It is estimated the average American has spent since the war started $500 more because of this war. And I will add to that number, to put it in context, the average American is $400 away from bankruptcy for any unexpected expense. So $400 of an unexpected expense could result in bankruptcy for the average American. And this war has resulted in $500 more of expenses, a large part of that because of the gas prices going up.
But to be clear, if you were president, you never start this war.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Bitch, are you seriously asking that question? Listen, I'll say this. There are some Democratic politicians and candidates who objectively, I think, are very hawkish on Iran. One of them being Hillary Clinton. I think she's very hawkish on Iran. I think, obviously, there's a bunch of Zionist Democrats funded by AIPAC that are very hawkish on Iran, Gottheimer and others, right? But as I said the other day, and people clipped it out, and it sort of was going all over the place, there's a 0% chance Kamala Harris will be blowing up dinghy fishing boats in the Caribbean and the Pacific right now. 0% chance. There's a 0% chance she would shake down the taxpayers to the tune of $10 billion for a fake board of peace that she created where it's just a slush fund for her and her allies and her cronies to steal that money. There's a 0% chance she would take $1.776 billion and pay off people who did violence on her behalf. Okay? There's a 0% chance she would have a scam crypto coin where she rug pulls her own fucking supporters. There's a 0% chance she would have carpet bombed a little girls' school in Iran. None. Right? Do I think Democrats still would have been too hawkish on Iran in the sense that they do too many sanctions? They undermine them. They cut them off from the global economy. They try to do like coercive economic crackdowns. I could see that, and I wouldn't support that either, right? But that's a million times better than fucking bombing their steel plants and bombing their bridges and their hospitals and their schools and shit like that, and tanking the global economy in the process because it is tied to the Strait of Hormuz being shut and gas prices going up and grocery prices going up. So, no, she wouldn't have fucking done that shit. I'm telling you guys, in the year 2026, one of the things I've declared war on is false equivalence. I, like many of you in this audience, have very serious, very deep criticisms of Democrats. There is not a single criticism I have of a single Democrat that surpasses the world record amount of criticism that every fucking elected Republican in this country deserves. It is a party of demons. It's a party of terrorists. It's a party of satanic pedophiles. Okay? There's a big difference between somebody who has some semblance of a moral compass, albeit flawed, versus somebody who just gets off at the pain and barbarism and savagery they inflict on the rest of the world. And that is the entire Republican Party in 2026.
And let's be clear about this. Let's be clear about this. Thank you, Tim. Let's be clear about this. Whatever is being negotiated, this president is going to declare victory and will end up where we were after the JCPOA and call that a victory, the JCPOA that he withdrew from.
The Obama nuclear agreement. And so so you're not, I mean, that's your thought on this potential deal?
I have more thoughts, but that's not why we're here.
Yeah, sure.
So we can,
Now former Vice President.
I mean, I think that's just factual, right? Like, best case scenario is we get back to a JCPOA type situation, but it's actually going to be terms that are even more favorable for Iran. And that's best case scenario. Worst case scenario, which I think is unfolding, is Israel tanks the deal. Trump can't hold them back. And we end up right back to square one with the Strait of Hormuz being closed, and we're fucked.
And then Kamala Harris talks about her speaking tour with the American people, what she learned, what she heard from people. Her words are deeply inspiring, and she talks about how after this Trump regime ends, there's going to be all of this debris. There's going to be all of this chaos that we're going to have to confront. Let's play it.
What people are telling me includes that they want to believe in systems, and they've lost trust in those systems. What I hear a lot is that people know that at the end of this administration, there will be a lot of debris. I tell them often, I can't guarantee that it won't get worse before it gets better. But the one thing I do know is at the end of it, there will be a lot of debris. And it would be irresponsible to then address that in a way that we only talk about what should we do, what do we need to do to rebuild, if we do that with any sense of nostalgia. That would be irresponsible. Because the reality is, even before, there were many things that were not working for a lot of people. The status quo is not working for a lot of people. And what the people are telling us is that they want things to be better. And in some places, what that sounds like is we want that to be broken. But they don't actually necessarily mean break it through destruction. But they do mean it has to be better. And I think the people are right. One of the things I think about in the context of the future is Gen Z. I love Gen Z. They are, in the United States, I'm not sure about here in Austria, they are a larger population than baby boomers demographically. They are between the age of about 13 and 28. They have only known the climate crisis. They experienced a pandemic where they lost significant portions of their education and socialization. And the thing I love about this generation, they are so beautifully impatient. They are not waiting for us to figure it out.
I mean, I certainly can tell. Can you guys tell? She's definitely changed her rhetoric since 2024, where I think she realized, like, oh shit, Trump and MAGA are destroying everything, they're breaking everything, and Democratic voters are pissed, and they want more radical solutions. They want people who are going to confront this shit directly. And you can sense, she's basically saying we can't go back to the status quo. We can't just go back to how it was before. We shouldn't look at this with any nostalgia. Like, we need to go forward. People say they want to break shit, but they don't mean destroy it. They mean break it in a page one rewrite to like fix the system. This, and it's smart. It's smart to do this because she's thinking about running again, almost certainly gonna run again. And she's out there now saying stuff like, we need to pack the Supreme Court. And like, but I told you this, that one of my fears is if the more centrist Democrats learn our language, then I think they can trick enough primary voters to supporting them. And then it's like, okay, we're going to get a Newsom or we're going to get a Kamala, but like, are we going to end up getting the same milquetoast, centrist Democratic policies, which I think this moment demands a lot more than that. This moment demands actual left-wing policies. It demands locking up the MAGA fascists. It demands universal health care and free college and a living wage and unions for all and ending the wars and taxing the rich and paid vacation time by law and free daycare. And like, it demands so much different. And I fear that a Kamala or a Newsom, they might start speaking our language, but I don't know if they'll actually deliver on that. So we'll see what ends up happening. But look, she's pivoted, and I think she senses the moment better than even better than I think Gavin Newsom. I think Gavin sort of shit the bed in a number of ways. She's sort of adjusting in real time.
If we think about, as we invest in the future of our world and we are unstoppable, if we think about investing in that generation, knowing, for example, that someone who is 20 years old today, based on all actuarials, will live to be about 100. Policymakers among us, let's think about what are we doing right now that for the next 8 decades of their life will plant the seeds for the majority of the life they have yet to live. That gives me a great deal of optimism about what we are capable of doing if we think that way.
So all that being said, does that make you more likely to... Does that make you more likely to run then?
Well, no, you started by asking me what I was going to do next. And what I'm going to do next is get a soccer tort to take home.
And I want to show you this as well, because former Vice President Kamala Harris gets into the weeds over here as she talks about data centers, bureaucracy. And, it's refreshing to hear a leader speak like this, to talk in an articulate way after having to hear all of the bloviating nonsense, incoherency that's spewed from Donald Trump every day. Let's listen to what she has to say. Let's play this clip right here.
I believe that what we should be requiring from a policy perspective is that any organization, corporation that wants to build a data center in a community, that they be required to power it with renewable energy. And that they also be required to invest in what has been a decaying for decades energy grid in America. The energy grid writ large in America was built in the 1960s and 70s. It is old and it is inefficient. And when we look at the specific reasons for then high energy prices, that is among them, which is an old and decaying energy grid. So as data centers are being developed, and there is a certain, just ubiquitous nature of it, it's happening around the country. Tim, you know that. The question should be also, what is the trade-off?
Right. What is the trade-off?
Well, the trade-off should include that a requirement that it use renewable energy, so it is not sucking the resources out of those local communities, and that they also invest in those communities in terms of the energy grid.
I mean, I think that's a fair point and a decent policy, and it might end up being like what would be one of the better case scenarios, but I really think moratorium is the way to go at the moment. I mean, this shit it's just completely and utterly out of control. We simply don't have the energy in order to run these things. We don't have the fresh water as well. And like, we're basically building these like mass surveillance machines and enriching the AI oligarchs, and they're just going to need a bailout of tax money. And it basically, this is all part of the class war being waged by the Epstein class against us. And we probably need a moratorium more than anything else. All right, so there you have it, man. Doing a little bit of the I told you so dance. The fact that she's out there tells me she's almost certainly going to run in 2028. She's trying to reposition herself as more on the left. And look, I wouldn't underestimate her. I wouldn't underestimate her for the simple fact that she has tremendous name recognition now across the board. There's been a million people who've run for president and didn't win or didn't do well and then came out in the future and ended up doing better. She was the nominee the last time. People tend to remember that stuff. If she says the right things, if she hits the right notes, she will be a formidable candidate to run against. Again, the issue is, does she mean the shit now, right? Do you mean these more progressive things that you're saying in this moment? And there's going to be people with different thoughts about that all across the spectrum. But let's be clear, absolutely torching Trump and making clear all this bullshit, would not be happening under me. All right, y'all. That's the show, man. I love y'all very much. You guys know the drill. Everybody do me a big favor. Click like, click subscribe, all that fun stuff. Click that bell icon so you get a notification every time a video drops. You can also support the show on Patreon, link below. Sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack, and go sub to Corin's World as well. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.